Welcome to part 12.2 of Nuclear Dragon. If you encounter any issues or have feedback, please let me know in the comments rather than just disliking the video. Your input helps me improve, and I'm here to make sure you have the best experience possible. Enjoy the content.
Chapter 301. Shillong, in watching the show, couldn't help but come up with such a word. You stupid woman. Give me all the nonsense. Think about what we are here for. Duan's face flushed red, and he shouted. He felt that the hard object behind him gave him a strong push. And Duan Ma was also taken aback. The hard thing behind also made her realize where it was and what she should do. He smiled embarrassingly. Child, I heard that the Alliance has a way to turn you back into a human being. So hurry up and go with us. Otherwise our old Duan family will be really unmatched in the future. Xylem still didn't speak. His body quickly became smaller and turned into a dragon figure, gently inflaming the wings on his back, floating in the air. I look like this. There shouldn't be any problem with the reception of the clan? Shillong said with a calm face. Huh. Duan Tianhao's mother was taken aback, and then said, It feels pretty good. Although it's not as handsome as before, but it's more powerful than before. Not bad. Not bad. As expected of my son. Even if he becomes a demonized person, he is very handsome. Duan Ma fiercely praised Shillong. The old couple had only seen Shillong's magic dragon form before, and they would be relieved to see the dragon man form. But suddenly, her complexion changed again, and she smiled embarrassingly. Yes, it's not bad, but after all, it's not human anymore. Those human girls are definitely not acceptable. Children, let's go back with the Alliance. Just be honest. Up. Shillong looked at Duan Tianhao's mother. Silent again. Of course he can continue to use transfiguration to become a human, but he cannot prove anything to a subordinate's mother in this situation. Oh kid, go back with us. Duan Tianhao's mother said again. That's impossible. Xylem was expressionless. Tianhao, your wings are hard now. Don't you even listen to our words? Dad Duan said unhappy. Just now, he was a little flustered by the hard object in his back. Didn't I say it all? After a person is transformed, it is already a genetic reversal, and it has nothing to do with people. Why don't the idiots of the Alliance find a better excuse? Even if it can be transformed back into a human being, what good is it? Being stupid, arrogant, and weak. How can you be a dragon? Xylem scolded, and his body turned back into a dragon. Duan Tianhao, you are really a great filial son. Suddenly, a figure squeezed Duan Tianhao's father and appeared beside his mother, with a rifle in his hand against Duan's head, shouting loudly. Forget it. You, a human traitor, really have to be tough. Duan Tianhao, become a dragon and accept our arrest. Otherwise your parents' lives will be lost. Don't try to use coercion to rescue your parents from our hands. Before we get Anomaly, I can definitely kill your parents immediately. Heh, are you soldiers from the former Star Stripe Nation? Xylem asked. How did you know? The soldier who hijacked Duan Tianhao's parents was taken aback. Only the former Star-Striped soldiers can be as shameless as you, gangsters who advertise justice. This is what others say about you, don't you know? Xylem teased. Bastard. We are the best soldiers in the Alliance. The future of the Alliance. The patron saint. The soldier yelled in a low voice. Hurry up and become a dragon. Accept the arrest. The clamor of flies. Shillong's eyes narrowed slightly. The next moment, suddenly opened. An invisible ripple spread out. That is the double shock of its own dragon power and mental shock. The power is much greater than the simple long way before. After all, the spiritual strength of his body is far beyond the limits of his current body. Only for a moment, everyone hiding in the helicopter felt as if their heads were severely hammered by a hammer, and they passed out without saying a word. These guys never dreamed that even if they were divided according to their strengths, they, as Tier 5, among the human elites, would be frightened by a creature's eyes. The previous long-way intelligence was obviously insufficient. Buzzing. The helicopter fell straight to the ground because no one was piloting it. Shillong reached out a giant claw and grabbed the helicopter in his hand. Then he rescued Duan Tianhao's parents from the helicopter. As for the people in the helicopter, all were pinched to death by him. He glanced at the footage that had been filming and broadcasting and sneered, Alliance fools! With this behavior, you are telling me, are you planning to resist the presence of the dragon god? Do all useless stupid things. You can't resist. This is a doomed reality. His eyes seemed to cross the endless network, appearing in front of everyone who was still watching the broadcast. Milbo, who was in the White Palace of the Holy City, naturally watched all this. His face was extremely gloomy. This Duan Tianhao is actually stronger than before. Why? Demonization can do this level of things? Is his current strength still rank 10? Or just like me, has surpassed rank 10? The more I thought about it, the more ugly Milbo's complexion became. I'm a god. The omniscient and almighty god. How can a running dog of the magic dragon have the same strength as a god? This is impossible. Milbaum silently looked at the glowing sphere in his hand and finally sighed. These 2 or 5 intellectual brains, since entering the closed mode, can still talk to it, but they will not answer any questions they ask him. Now in a state of pretending to be dead. Ask it why. It answers the question of fully operating the world of Dora's tomb without extra computing power. Well, an impeccable answer. Here in Shillong, after saving Duan Tianhao's parents, he scanned the electronic equipment that was still shooting at him with his eyes. Pung! A large group of flames ignited from the void, directly burning down the electronic equipment used for shooting. The temperature was much higher than that of ordinary flames, and several photographers instinctively let go of their hands in the first place, and the camera fell from the sky, leaving only the photographer's annoyed wailing. Even if it was Lily who was hiding in a certain corner, the phone was ignited by Shillong's sight. After being thrown to the ground, it exploded with a hit. Lily was shocked, making her a little bit eager to cry. My sister Dosha, won't it be gone? My popularity has not stabilized yet. Before Lily could think about what was going on, the giant dragon not far from her shrank and then hugged his parents. The figure flashed and disappeared. At this moment, all the film crews almost wanted to cry. The terrifying and ferocious dragon in the eyes of ordinary people is undoubtedly cute in the eyes of all photographers, because he never took the initiative to attack ordinary people. Even more because of the traffic, only a few days before the broadcast. The traffic on the platform where all the broadcasters are present has doubled. The original boss has promised that as long as he can persist until 7 days later, he can obviously be promoted and raise his salary. But why? The cute little dragon will run away in the last few days? These people are extremely angry. It must be the soldiers of the star-striped nation. They all scared our cute little dragon away. What do you say to maintain world peace? You bastards. I broke my dreams. A price must be paid for this. Many photographers work part-time as editors of a certain website, and they are most able to make up stories. Everyone swears that when I go back, I must write to the death the former star-striped soldiers. Who told you to ruin Lao Tzu's good deeds? Shillong hugged Duan Tianha's parents and shuttled back and forth in the city. As long as he saw a camera, he would directly detonate. It took more than 30 minutes to make sure that no one would find out before he entered a certain place. In the office building, this is usually where people go to work. But at this time, the whole building is very quiet. Everyone has taken refuge in their homes. Who wants to go out to work? Part 2. After all, not all demonized people have received 9 years of compulsory education like Shillong, and have extremely high levels of consciousness. It is not uncommon to kill innocent people. In this case, how dare ordinary people go out? Shillong found a room with a good environment and food and other supplies. So he brought Duan Tianhao's parents in, put the 2 on the ground, and then stretch out a finger. A column of water flowed down his fingers and dripped onto Duan's face. Woo! Dad Duan smashed his mouth in a daze. He whispered, shall we? No. No more, too much. Shillong frowned when he heard the words, and the water gushing from his fingers suddenly increased and became the size of a basin. Punch! Dad Duan let out a miserable cry, and Silem stopped spraying water. Cough, cough, cough. Dad Duan coughed violently, and it took a long time to stop. He glanced at Shillong and then at his wet clothes. Someone comfortably shook his body. Then he looked at the environment for a while. Ah, there is no iron wall around. It should not be a prison anymore. It looks like a boss office. There are a few potted plants, a computer, and a boss chair as standard equipment. Feeling relieved, Dad looked at Silem at this time and said, my child, what's the situation with us? Silem did not reply, but awakened Duan's mother in the same way. The rude way made the star-looking dad startled. Why is this kid so rude? Haoma woke up drenched and didn't wait for her to speak. Shillong said, you 2 are saved by me now, but the outside is more dangerous, so you will hide in this building for the time being. Remember, don't go anywhere until the dragon god descends. This is an office in an office building. The space is quite spacious and there is a lot of food inside. You will use it now, right? Oh, Tianhao, don't you stay with us? Mother hasn't seen you for a long time, but she missed me. Homa said. She wanted to stand up and give Shillong a hug, but Ciro moved straight back and hid. Don't get too close to me. Shillong was expressionless. Red light appeared on his body. Hao's mother watched Silin suddenly collapsed. Tears in her eyes began to roll. Tianhao, you. Is this disgusting mother for being old? Disgusting mother's ugliness? Don't you deserve to hug you? Question mark. Silem frowned even more. What's the matter with this mom? Just cry to me. Lao Tzu is not your son. How could it be possible to give you a woman hug? Oh, you woman, crying at every turn. Tianhao is so old, still wanting to hug? Dad also frowned. You woman who knows nothing. Do you know that many demonized people cannot control their own power well? Look at the red light on Tianhao. That must be a high temperature. If you jump on now, you might get burned. This is for your good child too. How Dad had an insightful expression on his face. Oh. After being said so, How Ma suddenly realized, is that so? Tian Hao? Shillong glanced at the red light on his body. This only changes with changes in mood. The temperature will not change much, at best a few degrees higher. But now that Dad had explained it, Shillong wouldn't say much, he just nodded. Let's see. I'll say that Tian Hao is great here now, and he must not be able to control his power. Dad Hao looked taken for granted. Yeah. How Ma nodded her head clearly, but she still asked, Tian Hao, you haven't said why you should separate from us. Something. What's the matter? Very important thing. What the hell? Can't you tell us? No. Xylem shook his head expressionlessly and disappeared in a flash. He didn't want to continue talking nonsense with this couple. The two couples looked at each other after watching Shillong disappear. Ma Hao said helplessly, this kid has changed too much, right? I feel so strange. Is this the side effect of demonization? Even the head is broken. Dad was silent for a while, and sighed after a long while, you women don't understand. This is a man? Question mark. Haoma looked confused. All things are carried by one person. All the secrets are hidden in my heart. Dad's expression was unpredictable. We can only stay here now, and the only thing we can do is to pray for Tian Hao. How Ma? It is said that Shillong left Duan Tian Hao's parents, waited until midnight, and then headed to the suburbs. On the way, he also met several demonized people, but these guys were not very strong, and they couldn't even see Zero. Just past him. After running for about 10 minutes, Shillong arrived at his destination, an extremely magnificent military base. It was night at this time, but Shillong's vision was not affected at all. There is basically no one to patrol the base now, and there is only a lone person guarding the guard tower, looking very lonely. He knew that at least 90% of the soldiers here had gone to suppress the chaos. There will definitely not be too many left to guard the base. Shillong imposed a stealth spell on himself, and then dodged behind the soldiers in the guard tower very easily. Before the opponent reacted, he covered the opponent's mouth with his huge hand. Then black ropes like tentacles were wrapped around the soldier in circles, trapping him into a zongzi with only his head exposed. The big hand moved up slowly, and his mouth was blocked by the black rope. You. The soldier's eyes were full of horror. He knew that he had been attacked, and the price of being attacked. According to the plot of the movie I have seen, I must first ask for information and then kill. Will I die? He was extremely scared. I don't want to die. I haven't married a wife yet. Then he felt like he was being pinched. This made the fear in the soldier's eyes even stronger. I won't be squeezed out of my head, am I? Woohoo. Brother, forgive me. But immediately, he felt like he was hung in the air and turned around. The sound of the whimper sound of the soldier's whimper sound more intense. What did he see? Except for a pair of red eyes, nothing else. In the middle of the night, a pair of eyes floated in the air. Think about how scary this is. The voice is softer. You are too noisy. An indifferent voice came from the void. The soldier was shocked. A pair of eyeballs are talking? How can the eyes speak? This unscientific. Be quiet. The voice of the void came again. The soldier didn't even dare to make a whining sound, and nodded very cleverly. Now it's right. The eyes in the void and the soldier's eyesight meet tightly. Soon, the soldier's eyes became dull. Tell me, where is the top commander of your base? The voice in the void asked. The black rope that had been stuck in the soldier's mouth gradually disappeared. I don't know. The soldier was non-Shinto. Then who knows? Tell me. Building 8, Olasian of 501. No. Very well, go to sleep well. After 12 hours, you can wake up. Oh, the soldier agreed. After a puff, he fell on the guard tower and fell asleep. Olasian. The voice in the void murmured. Sa. A cracking sound rang, and the night fell silent again. Building 8, room 501. There is only this room in the entire 5-story building. Xylem stood at the door. With his excellent hearing, he heard some abnormal sounds inside. The diaphragm of the door should be very good, but it can't support the Shillong. Hearing is too good, and there is still a slight voice coming from it. He frowned slightly. Someone in there was doing that stuff? Humph. Isn't it said that there are no women in this kind of base? It seems that the alliance in this world is a bit rotten. His palm lightly covered the door handle, but within 2 seconds, he burned the switch inside. Then he twisted the door handle and opened the door naturally. Ignoring everything in the living room, Xylem continued to the room where the sound was made, opening the door easily as before. Part 3. Perhaps it was too intense inside, and the sound of the door opening was too soft. After Xylem walked into the room, neither of the two people inside actually noticed it. Still continuing the previous things. Their expressions are very enjoyable and engaged. But after seeing the scene, Xylem felt that his eyes were burning and hurting. The picture in front of you is too spicy. Not one man and one woman he imagined, but two men. A majestic man, and a man with a little old-fashioned appearance. Damn it. Shillong said that he had never seen such a disgusting thing in his life. Immediately cast a low-level impact spell. Boom. The two men screamed and slammed hard against the wall behind them. Then he slid to the ground embarrassingly. After they looked at the door of the room, they saw the eyes in the void. Demonized people? Both of them were surprised. But it seems that because the door is not closed, the shouts of the two are faintly restrained. The young man didn't panic too much when he met Shillong. Instead, he showed extremely high professionalism. One turned over to the bed, and when he stuck his head again, he was already holding a pistol in his hand. No extra nonsense. Raising his hand to Shillong was a shot. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The silenced pistol bullets were all aimed at the eyes in the void. In response, Shillong just casually blocked their eyes with their invisible arms. There was no defense at all in other places, and the bullets bounced away. From the eyes of the two people in the original room, it seemed that there was an invisible wall in front, and all the bullets couldn't break it. But they didn't give up either. The old man also moved immediately. One side turned to the left, trying to escape from the other side door. Immediately, the invisible shock wave rushed towards him as before. Pong. Unfortunately, this time the old man hit the back wall with his head first and fainted. Sa. A sound of breaking through the air sounded. The young man found that the eyeballs floating in the void disappeared. Immediately after that, there was a pain in the arm holding the gun. Let him throw off the pistol instinctively. Then he felt like his neck was pinched by a pair of huge palms. The young man groaned in pain. He wanted to break free, but found that this was simply unrealistic, and the invisible power was amazing. Then he wanted to fight back. Use your hands and feet to attack those eyes in the void. But the black tentacles that emerged from the void trapped him hard. The red eyes in the void stared at him indifferently. The young man felt his consciousness gradually blurred. He felt as if he had entered a dream. Everything became illusory, and his spirit became more and more ethereal. A voice that seemed to reach the soul rang in my ears, both as far away and as near. Olathian, Olathian, are you Olathian? Yes, I am. The young man Olasian replied in a daze. Tell me, who is the highest commander of the entire base? Domi. Nick. Where is he? Olasian was silent. He gradually turned his head and looked at the old man on the left who had passed out like a sleepwalking. Domi. Nick. Sir. Olasian stared at the old man closely. Hearing this answer, the voice in the sky was silent. Then, Olasian's consciousness sank and he really fainted. All other parts of the Void Eye's body slowly emerged Wuxia world. Online, a tall dragon figure silently stared at the old man not far away. These two guys are pretty good at playing. Shillong sighed, and then awakened the old man again, using the same method to get everything he wanted to know. He came to the compartment and started logging into the base intranet. Then log in as Dominic. Here is the information he needs. Information about the latest weapons and test data. The most powerful one is indeed Thunder Fury, a super weapon that uses scientific discharge. Super lightning that can generate tens of billions of volts in an instant. Chapter 302. Shillong clicked on a video about Thunder Fury. The distance is very far, at least tens of kilometers away. The lethality of this super lightning is somewhat similar to a nuclear explosion. They all cause incalculable super damage to a small area. The difference is that the range of super lightning is smaller, only tens of meters in diameter. According to records, the high temperature generated by lightning of this level can melt everything in an instant. This kind of damage should be stronger than the high temperature that lasted for 1/1000th of a second in a nuclear explosion. Then there is follow-up damage, which will turn into thousands of thunderballs, irregularly destroying everything around it. This range is determined by the specific volts of Thunder Fury. In many experiments, the maximum can reach tens of kilometers. Then there is radiation current. This is a slight injury, not enough to be fatal, but it can destroy all circuits in the range. Looking at these materials, the corners of Shillong's mouth slightly cocked. The lightning of tens of billions of volts is indeed very strong. But what a pity. You met me, the nemesis of all flames and high temperatures, and their masters. However, this also gave Synopsis a wake-up call. With his current nuclear attack, the flaws are actually very large. It seems that some changes will be made in the fusion flame with a temperature of hundreds of millions of dollars in the future, and the duration of the flame must be increased. Otherwise, the so-called nuclear attack against enemies at the same level may become a joke. Can only be used to clean up miscellaneous soldiers is not what he wants. In the end, Shillong's figure disappeared here. Until the next morning, the sun fell on the earth again. The guards in the original base were still working orderly, but among them, Olasian's colleague found that the usual spirited men and women waited until noon and disappeared. Originally, because of the demonized people, the entire base was in a busy state. This kid, why is he still not working? A group of colleagues was angry, and they didn't reply when they sent him a message. They did not receive any news that the kid had left the base to fight the demonized man. So what is this kid doing? What do you hide at home? Was it because she couldn't control her desire and died in the hands of the fifth girl? Someone thought. Not to mention, this is really possible. After all, there had been such news in the past 2 years. There are no women in the city guard base. When the guards are hungry and thirsty, they always find 5 girls to solve their troubles. The more they thought about it, the more wrong they were, and they came to 501 together. When they came to the door of the room, they found that the door was wide open and there was a loud snoring noise. This makes everyone a little angry. Lao Tzu worked hard outside, but this kid Olasian actually slept inside? Why doesn't it close the door? Are you pure heart to us off? They came to the door angrily, walked into the living room of the room, and then walked to the bedroom with the same door open on one side. Then everyone seems to be petrified. What did they see? Olasian and their commander Dominic lay on the bed and fell asleep. I don't wear anything. Everyone looked at each other and all got a message from each other. We didn't see anything. I have never been here. He crept on his feet until everyone slowly exited the room. Waiting until the night, the 2 people in the room were considered sober. After looking at each other, they gradually recalled everything from yesterday and then looked out the window. The complexions of the 2 turned pale. That's it. Our reputation is over. Time continued to pass. After Shillong got the information he wanted at the guard base, he returned to the city to wander around. Then on the night of the 7th day, he returned to Duan Tianhao's parents who were arranged in the office building. After seeing the safe and sound fathers and mothers, he returned his consciousness to Duan Tianhao and returned to his ontological control. Regained control of the body, Duan Tianhao burst into tears directly looking at the parents in front of him. Pounced into his mother's arms, crying, "Mom, I miss you so much. I'm so afraid I won't see you again. You. Haoma looked blank. What's wrong with this kid? We saw each other the day before yesterday. At that time, we were so indifferent to our mother, and now we are holding her and crying? Sure enough. Has there been a problem in your mind after the demonization?" When Haoma thought of this, she couldn't help crying too. "Tianhao, I'm good Tianhao. Why is there a problem with my head?" And how Dad, watching, also cried. "Child, working hard outside as a man." The family hugged each other and wept bitterly. The 7-day notice of Duan Tianhao, in the eyes of the world came. The sky is not completely bright, but the first ray of sunlight has already fallen on the earth. In the Alliance Holy City, but did not enjoy the light brought by this ray of sunshine. The dark clouds here are so heavy that the entire sky seems to be still in the dark. No raindrops fell, but blue thunders flickered in the dark clouds in the sky. Makes the entire holy city seem extremely depressing. Not many people in the entire holy city are still here. Most of them have already evacuated. Liao was empty on the dim street, but there was a helicopter staying in the outer part. They used the most cutting-edge shooting technology. Even if they were 20 to 30 kilometers apart, they could photograph the white palaces of the holy city. At this time, Milbo and other congressmen were still in the White Palace. But they are already hundreds of meters underground, where they are safe, and they are not afraid that the next attack will spread here. All the MPs are still sitting around a conference table as before. Everyone's mood is as heavy as the dark clouds outside. There are dozens of small screens on the big screen in front of them, constantly switching. This is a super system that monitors the entire holy city. As soon as a magic dragon appears, it will zoom in for the members to understand the situation. The 7th day has come. Is the dragon coming soon? A congressman looked very solemn. The exact time is unknown, but it should come today. Of course, the possibility of Duan Tianhao lying is not ruled out. Probably not. That magic dragon has already descended into this world. This is the news we got from General Mork a long time ago. According to expert analysis, this 7-day notice has a large part of its effect and is used to intimidate us. And the effect is very good. There are too many traitors among the human race. All these traitors must be eliminated. Wait until we destroy the dragon. Where is the traitor named Duan Tianhao? Why did he disappear all at once? I have lost my track, so I should be hiding. How is thunder fury brewing? We only have this chance. If it fails, I think we humans will really lose. Those missile groups waiting dozens of kilometers away, I don't think it can deal with that magic dragon. Don't worry. This is definitely the most powerful attack since Thunder's Fury was developed. And don't underestimate the missile group. The tep face of Milbo's incarnation was solemn. He used his superb spell ability and thunder rage to fill the entire sky with thunder. It's like a human being holding back urine for 7 days. Just open the valve. It must be shocking. Even against the current, you will be 5 feet away. Milbo is very confident in it. If there is number 1 member of TEP, I'm relieved. Senator Tep is always so reliable. One member boasted. Roar. While the congressmen were talking, a terrifying dragon roar came from the surrounding speakers, interrupting the conversation. Part 2. All the counselors turned their heads and looked at the big screen, only to see a dark sky with some golden lines, even under the extremely dim sky. A huge figure that was still dazzling broke through the clouds and slowly landed. His whole body was wrapped with a scarlet flame like a ghost fire, constantly spinning. The figure is huge, same as the information obtained, bigger than Dora's tomb world. But when he actually appeared on the screen, all those who saw him lost their voice collectively. When he slowly landed outside the White Palace, the original solid marble cracked every inch and the earth collapsed. It was like being crushed by a solid steel ball. The main building of the White Palace, the great building close to 30 meters high and 60 meters wide, looks like a model as petite and ridiculous in the contrast of the giant dragon. That dragon is too big. Only through comparison can you personally feel the hugeness. Unlike before, everyone just felt that he was bigger than Dora's tomb world. That's not some, but a lot. On all fours, the height from the dragon's head to the ground is definitely more than 70 meters. Just the unfolded dragon wings can easily cover a large number of buildings, including the White Palace. The floating red flame casts a huge shadow, covering everything. His eyes are as bright as the scorching sun suddenly appearing in the dark night. Even looking at these eyes through the screen will make people feel awe in them from the bottom of my heart. Mortals, the seventh day has come, and the descended here. Why not see the celebrating guard of honor? Where are the salutes and fireworks? At least tens of millions of people are watching this scene on a webcast platform. The barrage is flying around the screen. Some looked at the dragon on the screen with horror, while others were afraid that the world would not be chaotic. Why? Why is it clearly a creature in a game that will really come to reality? This is not scientific. Is the former stupid? What age is it now? Still believe in science? I have converted to theology long ago. Haha, humans are over. How do you fight such monsters? Bastard, don't say frustrating words. Thunder's fury will definitely kill the dragon. That's the strongest weapon in the legend. At the same time, in a bright computer room, a small figure was wrapped in blue light, floating in the air. This figure is like an 8-year-old child, but his head was so big, it was twice as big as his body. His hands and feet are weak and short. The eyes are big, blooming with blue light. He stared at the screen, watching the stupid remarks on the barrage, with a sneer at the corner of his mouth. He is the former leader of the demonized organization codenamed Brain. Demonization 4 has been completed at this time. The strength has grown to the 10th level. The world became so beautiful in his eyes. Shillong's image in his eyes is even higher than the sky. In reality these days, he can be said to be very low-key. Since someone came to the door due to the exposure of the alliance, he has simply defeated the opponent, then rely on his own means to find a new house around to hide. As for the original owner of the house, he has already been hypnotized by him now, giving him the same grandfather. He has been waiting for His Majesty the Demon Dragon King's order, waiting to serve His Majesty. After hearing Duan Tianhao's 7-day notice, he began to look forward to this day. Now expect to come true. But looking at the idiots on the barrage, some people actually said that Your Majesty the Dragon King was killed with thunder anger. He felt he couldn't bear it anymore. Then the light in his eyes flashed. The keyboard in front of you rose automatically without hands. The sound of crackling becomes one piece. The stupid stuff in front. Do you think His Majesty the Dragon King is afraid of thunder anger? I think you haven't woken up yet. I tell you these brains. Your Majesty the Dragon King wants to destroy the entire world without a minute. You scumbags. Also worthy to fight Your Majesty. Your Majesty is very kind. Don't have eyes on you dogs. Just you pigs. Also worthy of being an enemy of Your Majesty. The brain is fighting with the legendary 5 sprays per second. Soon someone saw his rebellious remarks. One by one angered. Dog stuff. Are you a demonized person? Obviously a human traitor. How dare you appear on the internet? I can't beat you in reality. Doesn't I scold on the internet? Brothers start spraying. It's a son of a bitch. Isn't there no parents? They help foreign creatures to speak? Dog stuff can't die. Only iron waste that can't be mixed with humans will choose demonization. Demonized dogby. You are a scum. The strength of the human keyboard man cannot be underestimated. Even if the number of their speeches is limited to a few minutes, and the brain has done tricks because of its superb hacking skills, without this limitation, he is far from an opponent of tens of millions of humans on the internet. Many other demons are still on the sidelines. The dragon hasn't won yet. Speaking so early does not reveal the fact that he has demonized people. This is going to be punished. When the brain saw that it could not spray some ordinary people, it was immediately angry. The whole body was lit up with a blue light. The mental energy penetrated the room and began to spread outward. The blue energy in the eyes has exploded to the point where mortals cannot look directly. Key move. Call. All the blue energy began to expand frantically, and soon overwhelmed the 25-story apartment building where he was now. Those who originally watched the broadcast quietly in front of the computer were shocked to find that their keyboards moved by themselves. It seems that an invisible big hand is typing at a speed that surpasses humans. The computer that is not turned on turns on by itself, and then enters the broadcast platform. Some people want to stop, but there seems to be a wall of air to stop them. Everyone can only watch a barrage on the computer keep refreshing. Immortal will surrender to the mighty power of the Dragon King. Immortal will surrender to the mighty power of the Dragon King. Immortal will surrender to the mighty power of the Dragon King. Just like copying and pasting, it ignores the barrage limit and keeps refreshing. The number of screens per second is definitely more than 10 times. The entire apartment has at least 300 to 400 residents, and there is not only one computer per household. At least 600 or so, all broke out. This is definitely a big horror. The entire broadcast platform was directly screened. All mortals have been suppressed. They want to fight back, but they are not opponents who are restricted by the barrage. Someone who knew the inside of the site asked them why the demonized could use unlimited barrage. They can only answer honestly, the other party is a super hacker. Then the keyboard guys asked the website staff to also unlock the barrage restrictions. But unfortunately, this is impossible. After removing the barrage of nearly tens of millions of people, the website can crash instantly. So the human side is now extremely frustrated. Ha 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 ha. Stupid mortal. Have you seen it? This is the power that His Majesty the Dragon King gave me, regardless of reality. Still the network. As the brain of His Majesty the Dragon King, I am 100 stronger than you. Wrong. It should be 1,000 times. Ha 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 ha. Surrender to my strength. Mortals. The brain floats in the room filled with blue light, laughing wildly. Before the White Palace. No one would answer Shillong's question. Several hundred meters underground, Milbo said with a gloomy expression, "The devil dragon, let me die. Try this unprecedented super, thunder fury. You will surely be satisfied to scream." After that, Milbo pressed the red button in his hand fiercely. Outside the White Palace. Part 3. Shillong saw dozens of kilometers away, dozens of red rays shot diagonally into the sky above his head, in the incomparably dark clouds. Noisy la 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 in just an instant. The lightning in the clouds began to riot. Thousands of thunder mang began to converge towards the middle, purple and blue thunder masterpiece. Almost blinded, this dangerous and beautiful lame mang makes all humans look forward to it. Looking forward to smashing that dragon. The rumbling thunder is getting louder and louder. Shillong raised his head and glanced at the thunder in the sky. There was no tension in his heart, even feeling very ridiculous. This is the super weapon of mankind? Nima, suffocation is almost like urine. If it wasn't for me to release the water, no, it was to release the sea. If it is a real enemy, it rushes directly to the sky to disperse all the clouds and mist, and the thunderclouds that were brewing before are all scrapped? Give me a fart? But now, if it wasn't for all human beings to understand the gap between each other and let them completely give up, how could Shillong be in the mood to endure this for nothing? He watched the thunder above and held back again for 10 seconds. Then, the shining thunder pillar went straight down. Even Xylem didn't react and was hit straight. His body was instantly submerged in the blue and purple ocean. The terrifying high temperature in the thunder made everything around quickly evaporate. It continued for a few seconds. All humans held their breath and watched the scene on the broadcast attentively. Dead. Die. The dragon must die. They sincerely looked forward to it, and even instantly reflected on the barrage of the broadcast website. Thousands of people really have one heart. It suppressed the arrogant brain before. The entire screen is Devil Dragon. The alliance is invincible. This counterattack caused the brain to be caught off guard, and there was so much worry in his heart for His Majesty the Dragon King. The terrible thunder pillar disappeared. What appeared in front of all human beings was the White Palace dissolved into residues. To be precise, there was only a heat wave tumbling, like melted mud, but the standing dragon is still motionless. The dark scales did not change a trace of color. Among those horrible eyes, there were only mocking and laughing. Ha 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 ha. Seeing this scene, the previous worries were thrown directly into the stars by the brain. Human scum. Have you seen it? Your Majesty the Dragon King is invincible. Ha 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 ha. The brain is full of pride, and instantly becomes the of the keys again. Suppress thousands of people with one person. The battle of His Majesty the Dragon King is not over yet. My Majesty's brain. The battle with the enemy is also not over. Bai's palace is hundreds of meters underground. The power supply here still has no problems under Thunder Fury, thanks to the name of the holy city. The entire basement is designed with the most perfect plan and technology. However, The basement is okay, but the congressmen who were calm before are all messed up. Representative Tep, don't you say nothing is foolproof? Why? Our strongest weapon is still useless against that monster. A congressman asked in shock. His body began to shake. Shut up. How could I know why? The incarnation of Milbo glared at the opponent and said angrily. His eyes were full of bloodshot eyes. At the same time, his heart was roaring frantically. This is the strongest weapon of mankind. Thunder Fury. And it was improved by me. Definitely the ultimate weapon of Super Thunder Fury. An invincible weapon for single bombing. Those hundreds of billions of volts of super lightning strikes the creatures, and the Jedi can instantly generate over 100 million degrees of high temperature. Evaporate any living thing into elementary particles. But that giant dragon, why is there nothing wrong with it? What does the mockery in his eyes mean? Is this despising me? Damn it. Ahu was driven out of the world of Dora's tomb by me. Why is it so rampant in front of me? Milbo was furious. Immediately press another button of the controller in your hand. The ground is dozens of kilometers away. Here are full of ultra-long-range strike artillery carts, filled with missiles, pointing at the original White Palace at an angle of 70 degrees. The shells here are densely packed, like a honeycomb, at least more than 100,000 pieces. After Milbo pressed the controller, all the missiles started to spray flames from behind the ass, then burst out. The rumbling noise echoed in the gun carriage position. Yu reading www.yuyukangshu.com. The sky was quickly filled with these shells, like an orderly army in the sky, slaying to the place where the dragon is on the original site of the White Palace. The long tail flame changes the sky. Those humans who had been desperate, watching the broadcast, immediately regained their spirits. With so many missiles, can they defeat that magic dragon? It must be possible. After all, this is the killer weapon placed behind Thunder Fury. The missile group cut through the sky and fell straight at Shillong. As before, in everyone's eyes, the dragon has no meaning to dodge. Chapter 303. This is good. The arrogant dragon. Be prepared to pay the price for underestimating human wisdom. Between the roar of artillery, fire, lightning, frost, poison, and all kinds of damage broke out all at once, some of which were mixed together and caused a second impact damage. The dust and fog flooded all areas within a few kilometers of the explosion site. The rumble of explosions echoed continuously. In the underground palace, Milbo's expression was extremely cold, his eyes fixed on the smoke. Damn it, you will pay for your arrogance. These 100,000 missiles are all specially selected by me. It contains thousands of special missiles. These missiles explode together. Not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. I can't. You have no weakness. Not afraid of any kind of attack. The explosion lasted more than 10 minutes. The huge smoke broke through the clouds in the sky. Should be killed? Everyone couldn't help but have such thoughts in their hearts. But before the smoke slowly dissipated, a violent wind suddenly fanned out from the smoke, and all the smoke and dust around it disappeared. What appeared in everyone's eyes was the king of the devil dragon flapping his wings. Every time he has wings, a tornado hurricane will be set off on the spot. Fly all the debris. Compared with the beginning, the terrible dragon seems to be no different. His scales are still pitch black, unchanged. There is a huge pothole under him, which is 60 or 70 meters more sunken than the previous ground. The surrounding ground is full of scorched earth, frozen earth, and some crystals burned by high-temperature flames, all of which show how amazing the power of the explosion just now. At this moment, the hearts of countless humans are cold. On the contrary, the brains of the demonized humans cheered in front of the computer, shouting loudly at the invincibility of the Demon Dragon King. Ordinary people who are still demonizing seem to be more determined to demonize. Duan Tianhao let them see the potential of demonized people. The king of the devil dragon appears again, letting all humans know what a real super life is. Invincible power. Confront the entire alliance with the power of a dragon. Have the power to easily destroy the entire human race. All human beings know that no one can live as long as the pure white light blooms. In the eyes of the Dragon King, the previous methods are as funny as a clown's performance. The king of Devil Dragon hasn't fought back yet. Milbo's face was very bad at this time, as if swallowing shit. Tier 13. Is it so strong? Is he and Tier 11 really the gap between heaven and earth? Why does such a powerful enemy appear in front of me? Why do you want to oppose me? Damn it. Wisdom. Wisdom. Teach me how to deal with that evil dragon. Answer me. I can't live without you. Milbo's heart was in tears, and he felt that he was too small in front of him. The methods are all out, but they are useless at all. All efforts are useless at all. The surrounding congressmen panicked one by one, and some of them panicked and said, "What should I do? What should I do? Did we lose? We lost it completely? Damn, why is there such a monster in the world? He is invincible at all. Can we only surrender? Surrender. It's impossible to win. The gap between us is too big. Yes, although the battle between them and the dragon is short. It only takes less than 10 minutes, but this already represents their failure. After all, this is not a battle between two fantasy powerhouses. There is no fist to the flesh and an explosive roar. Some are just the most direct release and blow of technological weapons. When the strongest weapons fail, they have already ushered in a complete failure. The difference in strength between the opponent and theirs is not a dimension at all. The enemy has godlike power. Maybe he really is a god? Many congressmen could not recognize such an idea. Arrogant, stupid alliance. It seems necessary for you to understand the gap between man and God. Only then will you lower your head. Above the surface, it seemed that the anger was ignited by the attack just now. The huge Dragon King roared and made a shock wave-like sound, which spread directly to the ears of the photographers dozens of kilometers away and the shooting equipment. Then it is transmitted to the ears of all audiences through broadcast. Is it coming? The Dragon King's counterattack? Everyone was terrified. Members of the underground are even more panicked. Why? How could this be? The dragon is going to attack us. No, I want to surrender. I don't want to die. I don't want to die either. I'm only 50 years old. I'm still young. My 35 lovers can't live without me. Congressman Tep, let's surrender. In panic, the congressmen turned their eyes to Congressman Tep, who was incarnation of Milbo. But Milbo's expression was extremely heavy. Surrender? How to surrender? We can hear the other party's voice only because the other party's voice is loud enough and spread far enough. But we have no way to convey meaning to the dragon on the surface in a short time. Don't forget, all the instruments there are damaged. Now, even if we see the picture, it is a picture taken from 20 to 30 kilometers away. Do you think we have the means to convey news to each other at such a distance? As soon as the words came out, the congressmen were silent for a moment and immediately said in horror, "Then? Are we waiting to die here? You know his terrifying white light, right? It doesn't take much. If you send it, you can hit us. We will all die if this continues." "Shut up," Milbo said angrily. "You also know how many consecutive shots he needs? Forget about our underground tracks?" As the holy city, the refuge below the White Palace, this place can only be treated by the highest human power. Naturally, there is an escape route. There is an underground track with a very fast tram going directly to Liberty City, 100 kilometers away. Yes, we still have a rescue. A congressman responded with surprise. "Quick, let's go quickly. The magic dragon is about to start attacking," a member of the council nervously reminded. This sentence immediately shocked everyone's hearts. Turning his head almost instinctively to look at the screen, I saw the huge king of the dragons standing on the ground, the wings of the sky spreading out. The terrifying dragon's mouth opened slightly, and a sphere made of pure darkness appeared on the screen. It's very strange. It's obviously the night, and logically speaking, this darkness should be ignored. But this darkness makes everyone see clearly. It is darker than the night, as if it were the source of darkness. This is an extremely small ball of darkness. The expansion, compression, expansion, and compression cycle repeated before the giant mouth of the Dragon King. This magic dragon. What trick is it using now? A member of the Diet asked in amazement. "Don't worry about any tricks. We'll just run away," a member of the assembly said anxiously, opening the door of the parliament and ran out. When other people saw it, no one was thinking about what tricks the dragon used. When ordinary people see this black ball, they can't help but think, is this a more terrifying trick than the pure white light before? It should be impossible, right? What could be stronger than that kind of nightmare horror? They watched the black sphere go back and forth between expansion and contraction a dozen times, and finally the king of Devil Dragon suddenly spitted into the sky. The black ball flew straight to several kilometers in the sky before it was considered to stop. Then, the space within a radius of nearly 10 kilometers, like a vortex in the water, began to spin. The earth was dragged by the vortex, and it began to collapse on a large scale instantly. The mud was sucked directly onto the black ball along this vortex. Large blocks of soil with a diameter of several meters, or even tens of meters, are adsorbed on them. When they touched the black ball, they completely covered the black ball. The whole body began to compress. Part 2. The original piece of soil with a diameter of nearly 10 meters suddenly became a piece of soil with a diameter of less than 1 meter. The original irregular shape of this soil block suddenly became extremely smooth, and the gray soil became pure black. Later, after touching the black ball, the soil block stretched immediately, like a dough that had been stretched by a person, and directly wrapped the black ball. Then start to compress. The earth is constantly cracking, floating. All followed the space vortex into the dark sphere in the sky. The whole scene is terrifying. The black ball keeps expanding, and the potholes on the ground keep getting bigger. The human beings watching the broadcast were shocked and collectively lost their voices. But 10 seconds, pieces of colored stones floated out of the ground. And steel. What ordinary people don't know at all, that is the material of the refuge hundreds of meters below the earth. 10 seconds ago, underground. After seeing the black ball, the parliamentarians quickly evacuated the conference room. They had to rush into the tram not far outside. When they just arrived in front of the tram and wanted to board, they were shocked to find that the basement began to vibrate. They looked up in amazement and saw that the original roof was gone. Being hundreds of meters underground, endless air conditioning flows in instantly, dissipating the heat provided by the original heating equipment. It makes the members of parliament shiver. When they uttered a scream, the vortex directly covered them, and everyone was like an ant that was directly rolled up along the vortex, experiencing a different flying journey. Go upstream. When they saw the Dragon King in midair, they couldn't help but wailed in fear. Oh, no, no. Don't do this. Your Majesty the Dragon King. We surrender. Please let us go. Please let us go. But what responded to them was the cold look of the magic dragon. In the end, in despair, their bodies were attached to the dark ball. In an instant, their bones and flesh were shattered. It was pressed into a pancake no more than 1 millimeter thick. Blood red. Terrible. After being pulled by the space vortex, Milbo immediately wanted to cast a spell to escape. But he was horrified to find that all the surrounding elements had been messed up and could not be used by him at all. His spells are blocked. The body was torn out after being uncontrolled. No. How could I die here? I am a god. The who rules the world. Milbo roared in both horror and anger. This voice is much louder than the previous MPs. After Shillong heard this, he couldn't help but look over, then raised his brow. With just a glance, Xylem recognized him. After all, he had learned a lot about the world through Brotherhow's body. Naturally recognize who the opponent is, the first member of the league, Tep. It's just that after this old skin appeared, he was quickly pulled by the vortex to recover his true body, a handsome young man. Unexpectedly, this so-called first congressman was actually pretended to be someone else. Ha ha ha. Think about it. This world is no longer a purely technological world. Extraordinary power will always breed some geniuses and careerists who will replace the opponent after killing the first member. He could directly inherit everything from the other party, which allowed Silo to understand everything he saw. However, this guy does have some strength. At this time, he is actually using his own power to forcibly pull the gravitational pull of the mimic black hole in the sky. But all this was in vain. He was just a little bit slower than the others, and the final result still won't change at all. However, it is not easy to be able to resist the gravitational force of the mimic black hole a little bit. I am afraid that this strength can be compared with Duan Tianhao. It really is a genius. It's a pity. The wrong way. Shillong looked at each other's eyes with pity and sadness. Damn dragon. Don't underestimate me. Even if you can't use spells, I still have my grudge. I am a god. The only in the world. Milbo's original handsome face burst into blue veins. The body exudes endless golden light, shining like stars in the night sky. The audience who had been desperate saw this scene unexpectedly ignited a ray of hope. Is it the secret weapon of the Alliance? The strongest force used to deal with the dragon? Can he defeat the dragon? With this expectation, they saw endless golden streamers shooting out of the golden rays, some shot toward the magic dragon, and some shot toward the black ball in the sky. Haha, the gorgeous golden streamer shot on the black ball, but sadly exploded a pit with a diameter of no more than a few centimeters. And in the next second, this small pit was immediately filled. The golden light blasting towards the magic dragon flew no more than 100 meters away, and it was directly distorted by the vortex, and the black ball rushing to the sky was silent. This person who appeared with hope did not have the strength to challenge the king of Devil Dragon. The gap is still too big. It's impossible. How can my stunts be useless at all? Milbo's face was incredulous. My grudge is shining, but even the hardest diamond can be blasted into powder. Why can't it penetrate the dirt? Even the damage from the explosion is insignificant. Isn't this inevitable? Stupid mortal. My mimic black hole has already caused the original ordinary soil to undergo deeper gravitational compression, density, and hardness. They are already comparable to the hardest and most dense things in your world. Even beyond, your poor stunt is no different from fireworks. Shillong's words were like a heavy hammer, hitting Milbo's chest. The color of madness on Milwave's face became more intense, and he yelled, "You are the stupid! I am a god. I will never lose to you, this lizard. It is absolutely impossible." At the moment of his roar, Milbo burst out all his power of faith. The fighting spirit on him shines like stars in the sky. The entire sky was illuminated by golden brilliance, Even if it was tens of kilometers away, everyone could see clearly. His strength improved again, entered the 12th level briefly, the level of demigods. All the audience once again ignited hope, but there was only a faint surprise in Ciro's eyes, and then the corners of his mouth opened slightly, revealing an ironic smile. I saw Milbo's hands converge on his chest, and all the vindictiveness in his body began to converge. The light on the hand became more and more bright, and the golden brilliance turned into platinum because it was too bright. A few meters before being led into the black ball, a white light group with a diameter of 3 meters was actually gathered. "Break it for me," Milbo roared and poured the entire ball of light on the black ball. Boom! There was a huge roar. The surface of the black ball was exploded. A big hole with a diameter of 10 meters appeared. Seeing this big hole, the hideousness on the surface of Mil Wave disappeared in an instant and replaced by shock. Then his whole body was sucked directly into the pit, but the clod that was blasted away by him immediately blocked the hole where he was. Milbo was firmly stuck in the pit, but for a moment, the darkness in front of him was all, and huge pressure squeezed him. He felt the fear. Want to scream, want to ask for mercy, using the last grudge of the whole body to resist the pressure. But it was useless. His body began to twist and squash. No one can see how frightened the expression on his face is now. Despair. Helpless. In the end, like the previous members, it became a blood-red pancake. A month ago, it was the most beautiful in the world, and the strongest human being died. No one knows who his true identity is, because he has erased all information about himself. No one could even imagine that the so-called omniscient and omnipotent in the world of Dora's tomb died in the hands of the magic dragon. The two gods in the eyes of all humans are actually not rivals of the same level at all. Part 3. Dear second qualified person, congratulations on killing the first qualified person, and you will automatically be promoted to the first qualified person. An indifferent electronic voice suddenly sounded in Ciro's ear. Oh? Xylem looked startled. What are you talking about? When did I kill the first qualified person? Why don't I know? Just now, the man who uses the golden fighting spirit, he is the first qualified person in this system. He calls himself the all-knowing and almighty god. His real name is Milbolox. Are you kidding me? Shillong didn't believe it. Benji Brain will not be joking. Haha. Then I believe you have. Xylem replied, but he still wouldn't fully trust this second and fifth boy. It is not impossible to lie to me that I am dead, and then let me relax my guard. So if you believe in this 25 boy, you absolutely cannot believe it all. You actually said that the first qualified person is the weak chicken just now? The corner of Shillong's mouth was slightly grinned. If I am not mistaken, the strength of that guy is only a demigod level at best, even better than Duan Tianhao. Slightly stronger. Just this kind of waste is worthy of claiming to be an omniscient and almighty god. God is a kind of strength and a title. Obviously, Milbo's is only a title. His strength is far from the true god. SK, how come I feel a little upset after hearing you say this? Xylem frowned. He has always called himself the dragon god. Isn't he the same as the other party? It seems that a large part of the title of god is self-proclaimed, and it is used to pretend to be X, which is not really true. It's just that Milbo, who is more pretending to be X than him, is omniscient and omnipotent. Is it enough? The result is a demigod trash? Is it possible? There are some possibilities. After all, humans are the creatures who like to play X most. For the time being, XING now is half done. By the way, since you said that I am the first qualified person, can you tell me the truth about the world of Dora's tomb now? Xylem was still thinking about this. Of course. Ji now said, the world of Dora's tomb is transformed from fragments of the godhead of my creator Dora. Fragment of godhead? Transformed after death? Shillong's eyebrows twitched. Since there are fragments of the godhead, it means that Dora is a true god. How did he die? Is the fight between the gods? It seems that it is difficult to kill the opponent who is also the god. My creator, Dora, is a powerful god. The priesthood of the godhead is mainly illusory reality. While he is powerful, he also has a strong curiosity. It was this curiosity that killed him. A long, long time ago, Dora had heard of stars in the Sea of Stars, and when their lifespan reached their limit, there would be a terrifying supernova explosion. Legend has it that this kind of explosion can kill the gods and the strongest star beasts. Dora was very curious, so he wanted to try it. The final result was obvious. He fulfilled his wish and was blasted into powder by the supernova explosion. Annihilated, only a piece of debris was left by luck. Wisebrain said, Huh? Hard to resist the supernova explosion? Xylem was shocked. I've always heard that curiosity kills cats before. What does he see now? Curiosity kills God? But this is so special. Dare to resist the explosion of supernova? What is a supernova explosion? It can be said to be the scariest existence in the stars and the universe. There are very few terrorist incidents in the Shanghai and the universe Wuxia-world.online. Well, here is one thing to say. After Shillong passed through, whether it was the main material realm Star Sea where Bahamut and other gods existed before, or the universe of this world, in fact, it is far from being comparable to the universe where the blue star was before Shillong passed through. The universe before Shillong crossed is boundless, but the stars he is experiencing now and the universe here have boundaries. And through the comparison between the front and the back, Shillong discovered that the so-called Star Sea and the universe may be worse than the Milky Way where the blue star is located. Therefore, supernova explosions are rare here and have rarely been studied. All living beings only know that they are synonymous with death, but they still don't understand how strong they are. Chapter 304. A supernova explosion is a violent explosion experienced by certain stars when they are approaching the end of their evolution. During this period, the energy radiated by a supernova can be comparable to the total radiated energy of an ordinary star in its lifetime. Almost all matter in the star is ejected outwards at the highest speed of 1/10 the speed of light. Bombing power can almost destroy the entire star system. The gods in the sea of stars and the strongest star beasts are also very small in front of them. When you encounter it, you will avoid its edge. This is the common knowledge of all gods and star beasts. And if some special circumstances occur when the supernova explodes, resulting in a gamma-ray explosion, it is no surprise that the so-called gods are annihilated and turned into scum. After all, gamma's ray burst, but the strongest spear in the universe. Get rid of the black hole, almost everyone will die. This is no exception in Shanghai. God is not omnipotent, far from the invincibility of some brain-opened human imagination. They are also a kind of life, a special kind of powerful life. So when they are injured far beyond their own upper limit, they will die. The same will be completely wiped out. Your creator is really a great existence with daring and shocking. Xylem sighed and expressed admiration at the same time. Sure enough, if God does not die, he will not die. Once you die, no one can save it. Yes, the creator, Dora, is a great and curious God. When Jinao said these words, Sillon actually felt a little helpless in it. Dora's tomb, Dora's cemetery? A world tomb formed from fragments of the Godhead is really sad enough. Shillong exclaimed, so now can I take out the fragments of the Godhead? No, unless you reach 10 billion beliefs, you are eligible, but when you take out the Godhead fragments, the world of Dora's tomb, which can reverse reality and illusion, will also collapse. Ji-Brain reminded. Okay, it's not the time when I pay attention to this, 10 billion beliefs. I felt that the distance was very long before, but now I don't think it takes long. Shillong watched that he has now received more than 1.5 million. Believe in talking to yourself. Defeated. This golden god of war is already so strong, but it is still so vulnerable in front of the devil dragon. Does the Alliance really have a way to deal with the devil dragon? Perplexed. Die this heart. Your Majesty the Dragon King is invincible. This is obviously a demonized person. The world starts at this moment. It has been ruled by the dragon. All those who don't want to die, join us. Power. That is the power of the Dragon King. It can destroy everything. The power that makes everyone surrender. As Shillong showed his strength, he resisted Thunder Fury and the missile group, the final Milbo attack. All the demonized people who had not dared to show up before began to show up one after another, and the major commentators were occupied by them. Until this time, those ordinary people who have been hiding at home discovered that the number of demons was so terrifying. Because of the Alliance's weakness, they were actually beaten by demons on the internet with a guilty conscience. Shillong's simulated black hole will not end with the death of 1, 2, or 1,000 people. The black sphere is still expanding. The ground has long been sucked out of a sinkhole. It will not stop until a few minutes later. The original most prosperous holy city, a large number of buildings, and soil collectively disappeared. Only one sunk more than 2,000 meters. A crater with a diameter of nearly 10 kilometers. And above the sky, the black sphere has expanded to the point of 1 or 2 kilometers. The vortex around this sphere is still spinning, and it can continue to grow, but unfortunately there is no matter or energy around it that makes it bigger. Excluding the energy brought by slowly waiting for the wind to blow, and other microelements, or other unlucky creatures to send to the door, it will not continue to expand. The soil above this black ball is completely new to the people of this world. The density is higher than gold and the hardness is harder than diamond. Shillong slowly flew above the dark ball, using his own gravity to slowly eliminate the vortex drag on the black ball. His eyes spanned a distance of tens of kilometers and landed on the broadcast screen. The terrifying dragon eyes seemed to stare straight at all the humans watching the broadcast. Humans, the stupid ones among you have been wiped out by me. Now, the benevolent dragon god, Sillon Soderberg gives you another chance. All humans have an obligation to accept the evolution that God has given you. Under my rule, I will still keep you basic laws and guarantee the safety of your life, property, etc., but my subordinates can only take up their roles after evolution. Only they are qualified to be the rulers of this planet. So, go evolve. Before the next 7 days. Of course, if you still have the illusion of defeating me, just come. I am here waiting for you. Shillong's voice was loud and clear, spreading tens of kilometers away, so that everyone watching the broadcast could hear it. At this moment, many people in the world entered the world of Dora's tomb, went to the cave of pure white, and embarked on the path of evolution. After these guys entered, they would naturally fight with the NPCs. Then, they and the old players who were still fighting with the NPCs discovered that the NPCs had lost the ability to resurrect. Those tier 10 powerhouses who greatly delayed the progress of the demonization, after being killed again, never appeared again. No one in the world of Dora's tomb will stop the players from being demonized anymore, and their progress has started to increase so fast. In reality, there is naturally a small portion of people who are waiting and watching. They still have hope and miracles for mankind. Of course, there are some people who are desperate for reality, and poor ghosts who have failed to demonize. They have made up too much of the dark world after the dragon ruled, and then chose to commit suicide. Time is slowly passing by, and it hasn't waited for 7 days to come. But after the first night passed, several demonized people found Shillong. Among them are the small brains, the eagle heads who failed in the 4 demonizations, and some scattered demonized people. Shillong's impression of the brain and the eagle head is quite deep. After all, the brain is a legend of demonized tier 4, and it is also a rare talent, and the eagle head has more contact after Shillong possessed Tianhao. As soon as the brain this guy came, he knelt to the ground with excitement and said with tears, "Your Majesty, you have ruled the world. Your great power of God shines on all living beings. A great new era is coming soon born under your rule. That will be the most glorious era in the entire universe. Can come to this era. It is really an honor for our new and old man." At this time, Shillong has eliminated the gravity of the dark ball. The huge black sphere has already fallen back into the pit sucked out by it. The black ball that fell from the sky just touched the ground, but let Fangyuan there was a big tremor within 100 kilometers, and many buildings were scattered. The surface of the falling dark ball was not broken at all, and it was sitting straight in the center of the pit. Shillong is still standing on the black ball. At this time, several other demonized people and their brains were all on it. Among those demonized people, the other guys who didn't know the brain were shocked when they saw his behavior. They came earlier than the brain. When I first came, I couldn't speak to the king of the Devil's Dragon. It was almost trembling. After finally paying a salute, the Devil's Dragon swung back and stayed aside. The brain is like this. Take a look. This is a great man. In front of such a terrifying dragon, he didn't change his face and heart when he flattered him. It can be so realistic. Weep in tears. Awesome. The demonized people who came before were extremely upset about their gaffe. Later, the Devil Dragon King won't let this brain door be his celebrity, right? The following actions of the Devil Dragon also made them even more worried. They were so indifferent to them, and they grinned at the brain door. Part 2. Although it looked scary and hideous, it was a smile, right? It must be. Hateful. Their hearts are full of jealousy and annoyance. Very good. If the evolutionary people of the new era have your consciousness, I think they will soon become a first-class civilization in the whole dimension. At this time, a small mobile phone was floating in front of Shillong's huge body. He was talking to his brain while looking at the phone. "Your Majesty, the group of stupid humans last night dared to speak ill of you on the internet. Think you will be defeated by the Alliance. Deal with this stupid guy. I directly dispatched tens of thousands of online accounts. Fighting with them for hours finally made them understand their stupidity." The brain gate reminded him that after seeing Sillon playing with his mobile phone, a blue light flashed on his head, as if thinking of something. "Oh, it turns out that you control the number 1 to more than 10,000 that were active on various forums?" Shillong was slightly taken aback, looking straight at his brain. "Yes, and when the Union members attacked your Majesty under their own control, they slandered your Majesty on the Do Shock TV platform. I also fiercely fought with the opponent for more than an hour. After this cyber war ended, I changed my name and continued to rectify your Majesty's name." Brain said. Bang bang bang. Shillong's forelimb paws slapped together and applauded. He looked at his brain with approval and said, "You are really loyal. I did not misunderstand you. Come on, what's your name? I will remember him in my heart. Your Majesty. Your Majesty." The brain gate was even more moved, tears like rain. My name is Yang Daping. Your Majesty. It is really a blessing for your subordinates to cultivate for 100,000 years to make your Majesty remember my name. Yang Daping? Very good. I remember it. Xylem nodded. The other demonized people watched with brows jumping. This dog thing is too strong, right? How can you not surname Ma if you can flatter yourself? Only the eagle head looked calmly on the side. Worthy of being a brain. Demonized person with brain strengthening. This flattering is 666. In the following time, more and more demonized people came to Shillong, like a face saint. Waiting until the 7th day, Shillong was already crowded with people, all demonized people. They look strange and weird, because there are too many people, and because of their strength, they naturally have to be a little confused and fight each other. But these weren't things at all. Xylem directly took the initiative and hung on a stone pillar, letting countless demonized people pay their respects, and then they were much more honest. Duan Tianhao didn't show up in front of Shillong. He felt uncomfortably tight when he saw Shillong now, fearing that his body would be taken away again. Shillong again spent several weeks assigning positions to these demons. After all, the world he rules cannot be in a state of disorder. Therefore, as long as the original officials complete their demonization, Shillong will not move their positions, and will even increase. But those poor eggs who hadn't even completed the first stage of demonization were directly knocked off by Shillong. Under his rule, the talents needed must be both civil and martial arts, and only knowledge is not enough. The remaining vacancies will be filled from other demons. Of course, if these demonized people do not do well, Shillong will immediately replace them. Once the positions have been arranged, there will naturally be a reward system. Looking at the entire demonized human army, there are not many demonized for. Shillong is not ready to unconditionally open demonization for now. He will only reward his own blood when his subordinates have collected a certain point. It took more than 3 months for Shillong to restore the world to normal. During these 3 months, not only the order was restored, but the damaged buildings were also repaired. Just because there are too many demons. Among the hundreds of millions of demonized human beings, there are few who are related to land and buildings. These guys directly incarnate as master architects and start building houses, not only building houses that ordinary humans need. Countless special houses have also been built for special demons to live in. For ordinary people, the world changes a lot. Some people can accept it, some people cannot accept it, but these unacceptable people must also do everything possible to develop in an acceptable direction. For example, in a family of 3, the male owner is not demonized and is an ordinary person. His wife was demonized and turned into a sexless monster. The son also demonized Wuxiaworld.online and turned into a monster. At this time, the male host must not be able to live with his original family. In most cases, it is a divorce, and then find a human woman to start a new life. Of course, there are also those who do not believe in evil, or who are truly in love. Even if they don't deal with their looks, they will still live together as a family. Some people even feel that it seems that different races have become more exciting. Except for these unsatisfactory things, the others are actually pretty good. At least they don't have to worry about the house anymore. Because the demonized people have special abilities in construction, the current house price is very cheap, and the price per square meter has been reduced by more than 10 times. The price of various foods has also been reduced by several times because of the demonization of people. Food, clothing, housing, and transportation, the prices of various items have fallen, at least making the lives of ordinary people a lot easier, and general living needs have become very easy to meet. Chapter 305. But the higher level of satisfaction is not so easy. After all, in terms of social status alone, they are inferior to demons. But it is not absolute. Now their only way out is to research and improve their own strength. If one's own strength is strong enough, and some useful new technologies are developed, he can still be promoted in an exceptional way. Therefore, the development of the entire society is more stable than before. After Shillong became the ruler of this world, he collected the required 20 million belief points in less than a month. Most of these beliefs are provided by demons. Unlike Milbo, his followers are counted as 1,000. Then 900 of them are non-believers, 90 or so are simple believers, and the remaining 10 or so are considered normal believers. There is not necessarily one in thousands of people who have strong beliefs, but Shillong's demonized people are different. These guys will begin to believe and worship him in a subtle way. Among 1,000 people, about 900 are simple believers, and about 100 ordinary believers, at least about 10 have firm beliefs. The quality of his followers is more than 10 times higher than that of Milbo. Precisely because of this, his faith has risen rapidly. After collecting 20 million belief points, in his sea of consciousness, an irregular fragment exuding strange light unexpectedly appeared. This is the seedling of the Godhead, and at the moment it is formed, it is closely linked to the fate of the respectable qualified person. The Godheads of all gods are produced in this way, but theirs is not so easy. The ability of a qualified person to obtain seedlings of the Godhead so easily also relies on Dora's function of the Godhead, and its priesthood also includes the genera of creation. The power of creation allows you to have seedlings of Godhead. After it is born, please use your own consciousness to nurture it. It is like a child. It is blank as paper when it is born. It will follow the deepest desires of the qualified person to give birth to a priesthood suitable for you. Until you reach the minimum of 10 billion beliefs, you can use its ability initially. Ji-Brain explained. Does it come from the deepest part of the soul? Then what is mine? Xylem thought silently. As a dragon, his memory is profound, but the most profound is nothing more than his family, Armin, and Viola. For power, it seems that there is not much desire. After all, he has never lacked power since he was a child, and his growth is unmatched by other dragons. When he was about 10 years old, he had the strength comparable to or even surpassing that of his mother. The legend after that, the demigod, was just a matter of course. He did not feel the greatness of other forces. In the main material world, there is no opponent with the power of the first battle, nor has he felt the power of natural disasters. Perhaps the only thing he wants now is to grow up earlier, right? After all, he knows the strength of his race, and the glorious deeds of those old predecessors are derived from their own blood. As long as they grow up step by step, they can become stronger, comparable to gods. And in the previous life of human beings, maybe they would feel their own smallness and feel the power of other things, right? Like a nuclear bomb. He was in awe. What else? He thought there should be celestial bodies and miracles in the universe, which he has always cared about in his previous life. Seeing the greatness of those things, he felt as small as a cell in the universe. The greatest miracles in the universe, planets, stars, neutron stars, black holes, everything left him too profound. The strongest spear in the universe, gamma ray burst. The strongest shield in the universe, the black hole. This should be the deepest part of my heart. I don't know what it will become in the end. He faintly expects. After thinking about this, he remembered the fragment of the Godhead of the Lord of Dawn, Luashanda, a mature fragment of the Godhead. Perhaps it is necessary to study it carefully, but it didn't know anything about this stuff before, and there was no research direction. He spit out the fragments of the Godhead of the Lord of Dawn from his mouth, and the strange light was as dazzling as before. Honorable first qualified person, you actually have a pure Godhead fragment. Jinao's voice sounded, seeming a little surprised. This is my trophy. Xylem replied casually. I felt a lot of power of faith in it. The preliminary estimate is at the trillion level. You can extract the power of faith from those who are qualified and inject it into the seedlings of your Godhead, so that your Godhead can grow rapidly. Trillions? Shillong was a little moved by Jinao's words. Matter worked so hard for nearly 2 months and only 20 million. A fragment of the Lord of Dawn actually has a trillion? Worthy of being a powerful god. It's so rich. Shillong had to sigh. Action is worse than heart. Shillong began to use his own sea of consciousness to connect with the Godhead fragments of the Lord of Dawn, and then began to extract the power of faith. It's like putting a pump in a piece of ocean, pour water into your own small pool. It should have been very slow, but Shillong's mental power is so powerful, the power of this pump is naturally too large, and it can extract almost 1 million belief points every second. Even so, he would have to extract more than 10 days, or even dozens of days, to drain the power of faith in the fragments of the Lord of Dawn. 10 billion beliefs are nothing to Shillong now. It only takes 2 to 3 hours. It will be collected soon. Zero found that the fragments of the Godhead in the Sea of Consciousness had grown a lot, and the chains of order gods surrounded the Godhead. Each chain of gods is based on the combination of the deepest impression of consciousness and the most mysterious miracle of the universe. After these rules were formed, he could already clearly feel the rules contained within. That is the rule that contains information such as growth, immortality, destruction, flame, and gravity. This is the message Shillong engraved on the soul. It is the power of his Godhead. In general, it is not very different from what Shillong expected. In the days that followed, Shillong began to study the effects of these laws. Shillong tried to infuse faith in the law of growth, and his body would grow faster. The power of faith is a very miraculous power, extremely high level, but also a miraculous power. As long as it cooperates with the law of the Godhead, the effectiveness of the law can be concretized. After infusing 100 million faith points, his body's growth was accelerated for about 2 days. Of course, this kind of growth cannot go on without limit with the infusion of the power of faith, and there will be a 1-day dormancy period to allow the body to adapt to the growth and decay of its own cells. Quite interesting ability. If it is a normal creature, it may feel very rubbish. After all, it consumes life in exchange for power. But Shillong obviously wouldn't. As a plutonium dragon who doesn't know how many lifespans there are, he doesn't fear that he will die naturally. In addition, the fragments of his Godhead also contain the immortal laws that ordinary gods will carry. Almost every has this kind of law. This is an extremely popular law. After all gods want to live forever. Of course, his immortal law cannot be used now. Shillong guessed that the belief points are not enough, and there is no pregnancy and activation of the following laws. In the following days, he has been extracting the power of faith from the fragments of the Lord of Dawn. However, It took more than a day to make my power of faith reach 100 billion. Activating the law of eternal life is similar to the law of growth. As long as you inject the power of faith, you can increase your lifespan. This was a very peculiar experience. He felt that his body had returned to one day ago without losing strength. Well, it's worth mentioning that the power of faith he expended was far less than that of accelerating growth. One day only consumes 10,000 beliefs. Compared with growth, it can be described as extremely cheap. He guessed that the reason for this may be related to his race. As a plutonium dragon, his lifespan is extremely long. Part 2. This is one aspect, but this is certainly not the main one. Others, such as human gods, are above eternal life and consume belief will certainly not be much more than him. Otherwise it will be good for them to keep eternal life. Old dead god? He seems to have never heard of it. We must know that the age of certain gods in the previous main material world can be calculated in billions. The reason for the huge gap between Shillong's own growth and the consumption of immortality. Another aspect is the sharp increase in his strength after he grows up, which is why he consumes a huge amount of faith. The power of faith turned into his power. It took another 10 days, and his faith became 1 trillion. Unlocked the power of fire. He can inject the power of faith under all his fire-related abilities to make it more powerful. For example, his current ordinary breath is about 7,000 degrees. When he injects the power of 10,000 beliefs, his flame breath temperature can reach more than 7,500 degrees for about 10 seconds, and then he will be beaten back to the prototype. And his nuclear calming breath, he flew directly above the sea to conduct a test, and it would consume about 1 million beliefs to actually increase the power of nuclear calming breath. Let the fusion flame, which could only last for 1,000th of a second, stay for 1 second. And the temperature of the flame has also increased a little. He doesn't know how much. Don't underestimate this second. If his flames used to deal with enemies of the same level before, because the time was too short to cause effective damage, then as long as the hit can definitely cause extremely considerable damage. Shillong knew that the effect of the fragments of the godhead was not static. This was also the reason why many gods were strong and weak. The depth of their understanding of their laws would affect the effect of using the laws and the power of belief consumed. The more powerful the gods are, the ones that use the least power of faith to produce the greatest output. Because he wants to study the fragments of the godhead, he is actually not very concerned about the management of the planet he is currently on. After all, this group of humans is his faith cash machine. After appointing their respective positions, he emphatically talked about his management and requirements for the world, and let Duan Tianhao and the brain, the two most powerful forces, help him take care of the world. After that, he began to study his own laws, which were about growth. If he wanted to understand what he wanted to understand, he had to understand the roots of them. He directly began to read books in this area, whether it was plants, animals, or humans, or the growth of planets and stars. These all contribute to his understanding of the law of growth. Because backed by the science and technology planet, his research progress is far from being as slow as some Mao god who doesn't understand anything. But this kind of knowledge about growth is really too much. Even if he has super learning and memory abilities, it is only a superficial understanding and cannot reach the complete understanding of the law. Therefore, his understanding of the law of growth is far from reaching his expectations. This is also inevitable. All laws are treasures of the universe, and they will certainly not be easy for intelligent creatures to understand. That is the foundation engraved on all miracles. This may be the reason why, even if the gods have lived for countless years, their strength has not increased as fast as some great lives. For example, the evil creature, the plutonium dragon, star beast monster, these are all miraculous beings born in the Xinghai universe, infinite dimensional love. You don't need to be a god. As long as you grow up normally, the beings who can make the gods stunned. As for evil things, Shillong didn't understand this kind of thing, and couldn't recognize whether it was a miraculous creature like a plutonium dragon. He spent about 5 years learning and growing, and his cognition is probably comparable to that of the greatest growth biologist on the planet. This changed the number of days that allowed Shillong to spin 100 million beliefs to grow from 2 days to 12 days. In fact, 3 years ago, Shillong changed the effect from 2 days to 10 days. In the next 3 years, I just pushed from 10 to 12. The more you go, the harder it is to improve your understanding of growth. After spending almost 2 years again, he found that his growth law hadn't improved, so he gave up on his own research plan. Instead, a large number of human and demonized scholars were formed to help him research and conquer the knowledge about the growth of various lives. And he is a dragon, ready to sit back and enjoy his success. In the next time, Shillong continued to extract the faith of the Godhead fragments of the Lord of Dawn, and there was almost half of it inside. This has to make Shillong lament the other party's wealth. After extracting 50 million beliefs again, and retaining 10 billion beliefs for the Godhead fragments of the Lord of Dawn, he stopped. After all, he does not possess the ability of the opponent's fragments. Wuxia World Online is a very good Godhead fragment. 1.5 trillion beliefs are enough for him to grow rapidly for more than 490 years, for which he needs to sleep for nearly 41 years. After Siren deliberately told some important things, he fell asleep. In order to improve his strength as soon as possible, he would return to the original world earlier and look at his gods with colored eyes. Losing these lifespans and beliefs is nothing at all. He took 10 years as a boundary, waking up from sleep, to see if the world had developed as he expected, but apparently, Zero looked at the demons. The situation where all the high levels are demons has caused them to have a lot of abnormal things, and ordinary people in some places have very poor lives. For this reason, Xylem directly killed all the demons and replaced them with a new batch. It also lowered the standard for ordinary people to enter the upper echelon a lot. Chapter 306. Shillong does not allow them to destroy a harmonious society in the real world, but these demonized people are indeed over-energy. After all, they are people who have gained power and always want to show off this power. From the original gentleman's mouth but not his hands, to the current man who is able to use his hands, who will force you. These are all sequelae caused by power. For this reason, Shillong emphasized the need to fight to the world of Dora's tomb. Well, by the way, because Shillong has become the real master of the brain, the world of Dora's tomb is already under his control. The closed mode was closed again by him, and he resurrected the NPCs who were basically dying now because they were not supported by the power of the Milbo faith. This wave of resurrection directly made him lose more than 6 million faith points. It can be seen how terrifying the killing caused by players in this world. After that, he summoned more than 20 rank 10 legends before and told them that he was actually the omniscient and almighty god. The role of the dragon is only used to test them. After these 10th rank legends were told in this way, each of them looked very ugly, just like eating shit. But they had to work hard to keep smiling and admiring, in that way, not to mention aggrieved. They can only accept the reality helplessly, but there is no other way. After that, Shillong was going to increase their strength. Originally, he wanted to turn these guys into radiators. After all, this was the simplest and no-consuming method. But he quickly vetoed it again, becoming a radiator, that is, a demonized person in the eyes of ordinary NPCs, which would make ordinary people repel them. This is not what Shillong wants. What he wants is to pass these more than 20th order, lead them to maintain the stability and harmony of this illusory world. As for all the tombs of Dora turned into demons, forget it. These guys were so miserable by demonized people before, and they hate demonized people in their hearts. The most important thing is the puppets of Dora's tomb. The supply of beliefs is far worse than that of real-world humans. It may reach 1,000 times. It is really not worth his effort to manage. It is completely used to entertain the demonized players. And it exists. Therefore, he directly used the belief points to improve the strength of these guys. If the strength is high, he can maintain peace in the world of Dora's tomb, and he does not need to spend any energy on management. For this reason, the initial investment is naturally a lot. Each upgrade from Tier 10 to Tier 11 actually doesn't cost much, as long as 1 of 5 million beliefs are enough. Well, after reaching the 11th level, every time a skeleton level is increased, the consumed beliefs start to increase exponentially. A total of more than 72 million beliefs were spent, and Shillong added more than 20 level 11 powerhouses to the world. Xylem told these guys that the reward this time was because they passed their own test. In the face of the invincible dragon he played, he did not give in. Fighting with tenacious perseverance to the last moment, I am very satisfied. This is the proof of their loyal faith, and the reward for this. This caused more than 20 legendary beauties snot bubbles to come out, one by one. The omniscient and omnipotent God, and the grace of God shines on everything. The omniscient and almighty God? To be honest, Shillong was a little awkward to hear, but he did not correct this mistake. If this changes the name of the god, it will definitely make these guys think too much, and it is not conducive to immediately accept the belief of the first qualified person. With more than 20 tiers 11, Shillong began to upgrade some low-tier believers who believed in Yuching. Tier 9 is upgraded to Tier 10. One cost less than 100,000 beliefs, and he can create 2 to 300 Tier 10s in one go. And for the 8th rank to the 9th rank, one only needs 10,000 yuan, and the cheap ones won't work. He almost improved all the guys with good faith in the world of Dora's tomb. The cost is only about 80 million. A total of 150 million was spent, which is really just a drizzle for Shillong. Of course, only those who possessed the wool from the Lord of Dawn had such pride. If Milbo saw Shillong doing this, his eyes would be blinded by crying. 150 million beliefs in other provinces. It takes only 2 years to have these beliefs. How could he be willing to use it to enhance the strength of this group of puppets? You know, the puppets in the world of Dora's tomb, that is, NPCs, are not only scarce provided by faith, but they can only survive in the world of Dora's tomb and cannot enter the real world at all. Shillong had tried before and brought an NPC to the real world, but their bodies shattered directly after entering the real world. It's like an imaginary bubble. Because of this, Milbo wouldn't improve the strength of the NPCs at all. In addition to creating some monsters for the players to play with, he hardly paid much attention to NPC humans. Perfectly improved the combat power of Dora's Tomb World to be able to completely defeat the demonized player. Shillong tried to directly improve the strength of real human beings, such as the brain, which cost a lot of faith, directly turned over 100 times. To get the opponent from the 10th level to the 5th skeleton level, to the 11th level 1 skeleton level, it will cost Shillong 270 million beliefs. If you advance to level 12 and level 1 skeleton, you need to consume close to 6 billion beliefs. And if it is a 13th level and 1 skeleton level, it would require more than 100 billion beliefs. For the 14th level and 1 skeleton level, more than 3 trillion beliefs are needed. Upgrading to the level 14 and 4 skeleton level of Shillong now requires more than 10 trillion beliefs. Even Shillong, who has picked up a big leak, can't afford it. 10 trillion beliefs. It's enough for him to use the law of growth to grow for more than 3,000 years. This is more than 30 times the difference from the force-enhanced strength of Godhead fragments. However, using the Godhead to increase your strength, the higher the level, the greater the consumption of the upgrade. To the 15th level, I am afraid that the gap will be more than 100 times compared with the Shillong growth law. The 16th order may be more than 1,000 times. The horror of the law of growth can only be manifested in plutonium dragons and star beasts, such terrifying bloodline creatures. For other creatures, including gods, the law of growth is unscrupulous. But despite this, Dora's Godhead law is exaggerated. After all, it is an increase in strength with almost no side effects, and this increase is much stronger than that of ordinary dragons. I don't know how strong Dora, who was killed by his curiosity, was in his lifetime. He asked G-Brain, but G-Brain's system does not seem to store accurate information about Dora's strength. 10 trillion beliefs is an astronomical figure for Shillong now. Even if he integrates the real world now, plus the world of Dora's tomb, his daily income is only about 1.2 million beliefs. It will take about 24,000 years to save 10 trillion beliefs on your own. This is why half of Shillong's believers are demonized believers, and their beliefs are much higher than those of ordinary people. If it is an ordinary god, it is even more difficult. It is estimated that a planet with a population of 3 to 4 billion or more is needed. This time he awakened, Shillong also used Dora's Godhead fragments to improve their strength and his own longevity as rewards for those who thoroughly implemented his will and performed well. This naturally includes the brain. Shillong has raised his strength by 2 skeleton ranks, making him a high-level combat power in the 10th rank, costing more than 75 million beliefs. Together with some other people, it cost a total of close to 200 million faiths. These are all costs to improve the strength. The law of longevity costs, it is really not worth mentioning. However, after spending this time, whether it is a demonized believer or an ordinary human, the belief in Shillong has actually become stronger. Daily income reached about 1.3 million. This has to make Xylem sigh. Dora's Godhead fragment is really a good thing. As a leader, you need both kindness and power. Part 2. Wei, he has already used it, and he himself is the embodiment of terror and power. And it seems that there is nothing more than lifespan, and Dora's fragments fill the gap very well. After all, many demonized people now live long lives, age extremely slowly, and the effect of the law of longevity is really limited. The topic returned to before. The demonized player's heart was agitated due to the expansion of strength. Shillong specially prepared a competition for them in the world of Dora's tomb to consume their nowhere to put energy. If you are rewarded, it will naturally be points, and the effect of points can be directly used to improve your strength and exchange the high radiation required for Advanced Demonization 3, or his essence and blood. Of course, it is possible to exchange money for these things, but now the entire human society uses paper money, gold, silver, gems, and other items, which have all been confiscated by Shillong, and discount points or paper money are given to them. Having obtained gold and jewelry from all over the world, Shillong's financial resources are many times richer than when he was in the material realm. While these gadgets made Shillong happy, he missed Armin a little bit. He lacked an object to show off. Then, he continued to sleep for the next 10 years. After waking up, returned to the human world and continued to check the situation. Because of the previous response, the stability of the social order this time is basically complete, and Shillong is also relieved. Then he returned to the desert island to sleep. Soon, he spent only 10 billion on his beliefs just in case. It has been more than 40 years since Shillong came to this world. A certain sea area, 10,000 meters below the seafloor. There was no light here, and a group of strange and indescribable creatures wandered slowly. Suddenly, there was a shock from the bottom of the ocean floor. The vibration passed through the bottom and into the sea, scaring away all the strange creatures around. Soon, a thump sounded. The mud on the seabed was opened, and a huge, terrifying monster drilled out of the seabed. I hate the sea. Why am I in the sea? The huge monster muttered to himself, with doubts in his words. His huge body was in the dull seabed, and only the golden streamer that came with it was still faintly circulating. As the monster's voice fell, his body slowly began to redden, and the surrounding sea water for several kilometers began to boil on a large scale. Far above the sea level of 10,000 meters, there happened to be a small cruise ship here. This was the cruise ship of a certain wealthy kid on the mainland. He and his friends made an appointment to come out and play together. Of course, not all of them are humans. A demonized man with a human upper body and a snake on the lower body is graciously holding a fishing rod on the bow of a ship that has stopped sailing and fishing. Beside him, a curious-looking, gray-skinned male creature with 4 legs and 4 hands was kissing a snake-haired female creature. Not far away, there are demonized people and pure humans kissing. At this moment, a large cloud of smoke rose from the calm sea, and within a few kilometers, a large number of fish jumped out of the water, and the scene was magnificent. Slap slap, a few jumpers were particularly powerful, and they jumped directly onto the cruise ship about 1 meter from the sea. This directly surprised the people on the cruise ship. What the is this? Why do these fish be like this? What are they afraid of? The man with the head of the fisherman wondered. Is there a strong man wandering in the sea, exerting his own coercion? Said the 4-legged and 4-handed man, bending down to pick up the fish that was still jumping on the ground. Huh. He found some anomalies. The temperature of these fish is not right. Why does it seem a bit too high? There seems to be an abnormality in the water. He glanced at the smoke continuously emerging from the sea, frowned. Has the sea been warmed by anyone? If you have warmed up, you will know if you try it. The snake-haired woman who had been kissing with 4 armed men before, a snake head dancing wildly above her head, suddenly stretched out and plunged straight into the sea. The moment it touched the sea, the snake head suddenly retracted, frowned and said, "It is indeed the sea water being heated. The temperature is at least about 50 degrees. The man with the head and the snake body looked at the white mist floating within a few kilometers, looking like a fairyland, but the horror behind it made him a little frightened. This kind of large-scale heating of seawater is not something ordinary people can do. It feels like a legendary powerhouse with a level 10 at least is possible. We still leave here quickly, in the vast ocean. If we encounter the strong man with mental illness, maybe we will be killed. That's really dead in vain. At that time, it will be difficult for the dragon god guards to find the murderer and redress for us." The man with the head snake body was very cautious, and in just a moment, he thought a lot. When the others heard this, all of them were a little flustered. Although it was the new era of the dragon god, there was a world of Dora's tomb to help the demonized people consume excess energy. But there is always no shortage of abnormal neuroses, which will cause chaos in reality, which has to make them vigilant. A demonized man who can sail into the cruise ship Wuxia World Online quickly steered the cruise ship and began to return. But before driving far, a huge black shadow appeared under the sea. It's like an island. At the same time, there is a deeper spiritual oppression. Horror inexplicable. A few weak-willed women let out screams. What kind of monster is this? Even the biggest whale is far from it. There won't be such a monster in the world of Dora's tomb. A male demonized person shouted. The dark shadow turned out to be clearer. They wanted to escape, but they couldn't. Among the group of people is a wizard who specializes in spells, but he does not know how to fly at all, and the level of the warrior is relatively low, and he can't even run away from the sea. Chapter 307. As demonized people, they are actually not strong. This is mainly because they are young, and they are the 3rd generation of demonized people. What is the 3rd generation of demons? The one who directly accepted the power of Shillong's radiation was a generation of demons. The 2nd generation is born by 2 generations, and the 3 generations are the same, born by 2 second generations. These demonized people who are not directly under Shillong, they will not directly come to strength asterisk like the 1st generation. The strength of the demonized person of the offspring mostly depends on the strength of both parents, genetic strength. This strength can be strong or weak, but not too exaggerated. The strength is also gradually improved according to growth. If you don't work hard, it is not unusual to be surpassed by ordinary people. As for they want to demonize? It is a pity that the demonized people of future generations have lost their qualifications for demonization if they know why. Because of this, there is not even a tier 5 among this group of people. They can only watch the dark shadow gradually expand. Finally surfaced. This is an unknown huge creature. Because it is too big, everyone has no chance to see the whole picture of this monster. The cruise ship sits on the uneven back spine that looks like a black earth. The scales are bigger than theirs, and the entire back is made up of countless scales. The cruise ship started to tilt because the monsters below lifted off, but soon, it was stuck in the scale armor that occasionally flashed golden streamer. The terrifying sense of oppression and the fear of unknown giant creatures have been pressing on these human nerves. Make them all scream like women. Ah. The huge black unknown creature may be noisy by the sound, and he slowly twisted the huge head almost 100 meters away from them. That is a pure black fierce dragon head, huge enough to compare the size of a basketball court. 2 pairs of dragon horns meandering backwards, the visors are bumpy, and the huge eyes of a house are like almond-shaped dark pupils. Is densely covered with golden scattered particles, beautiful and terrifying. Looking at his eyes, it made them look directly at the blazing sun at noon. Just glanced at each other, sour tears flowed from his eyes, and he closed his eyes instinctively. When they opened their eyes again, they found that they were being placed on their claws by the terrifying dragon. They ride on the cruise ship, like an ant placed in the palm of a huge monster. Fear invades their hearts, making them hug each other. Their bodies are constantly trembling, their teeth are trembling, and watermarks appear on the lower body of both men and women. But suddenly, a golden light seemed to shoot out from the giant dragon, shining on their hearts. This light slightly expelled their fear and allowed them to regain their sanity. When they found their lower body soaked, several people lowered their heads in shame, but a few raised their heads and looked up at the head of the palm master from a perspective of nearly 80 degrees. This time, the few people have learnt well. One of the wizards simply cast a spell to protect the horizon on them, and they can finally look at the terrifying dragon in detail. This is definitely a terrifying dragon beyond their imagination. He seemed to have broken free from the shackles of gravity, with the huge dragon wings shrunk behind his back, floating silently on the sea without flapping. The long tail is straight down, standing above the sea. Just glanced at these 2 eyes, and several people involuntarily popped out 4 words in their minds. Is too long, too big. They estimated in their hearts that the length from beginning to end is at least 600 meters. What a horror is this? In front of this kind of existence, they are really no different from larger ants. When the ants look at people like them, they should feel this way. The only difference is that the ants can't feel their horror. You. What are you? Someone asked tremblingly. But the dragon in front of him did not speak, but looked at them quietly. Please, excuse me. You are the of dragons, Your Majesty Shillong Soderbergh? A trembling but determined voice came out. Everyone is looking for reputation. It is the demonized person with 4 legs and 4 hands. Dragon? Your Majesty the Dragon God? Everyone was taken aback, and then they looked at Shillong carefully, as if, like the images on the internet and the textbooks. As the new Dragon God era, Shillong's photos have long been on the textbooks of all regions and are mentioned in many subjects. For sports stars, you must first worship the Dragon God and bless everyone's physical fitness to improve in the future. Well, physical education in this world is a very important subject, and it ranks 3rd in all subjects. There are also political classes, Chinese classes, etc., all involving Shillong. Therefore, after these new generation demonized people were initially nervous, they immediately recognized Shillong. But isn't it recorded in the textbook that the Dragon God is only 160 meters long? Is this one too big right now? That's right. It's me, Shillong said, deliberately lowering his voice like a thunder explosion in the ears of several new generation humans, making them dizzy, blood even overflowing in their mouths and noses, holding their heads and constantly wailing. So weak. In his heart, Shillong lamented the weakness of the new generation of humans, but also lamented his own strength. At the same time, he immediately used the Godhead fragments of the Lord of Dawn to heal them. Several people immediately regained their spirits. Yes, saved. The group sighed in horror, thinking that Your Majesty wanted them to die. It's scary. Then they knelt on one knee and said, Your Majesty the Great Dragon God, New Man XXX salutes you. May the Great Dragon God divine power last forever. The brilliance fills all corners of the universe. Well, these words are taught in textbooks. If you are lucky enough to meet Your Majesty the Dragon God, this is the most correct way to open it. Well, I also wish you an early breakthrough in strength and academic success. Zero nodded, showing a self-confident smile. But the huge mouth that was huge enough to swallow everyone without stuffing their teeth still made everyone tremble. Thank you, the blessing of Your Majesty the Dragon God. We will definitely work hard to improve our strength. Strive to be a useful talent for society, the motherland, and Your Majesty as soon as possible. Repay Your Majesty for his reinvention of our grace. These humanitarians, Shillong nodded, and wanted to put their cruise ship into the sea and let them leave with confidence. But the snake-haired demonized man among these people boldly shouted, Your Majesty, can I have a shadow with you? Just one is enough. Mingming's body was still trembling. This demonized woman actually looked at Shillong with a look of expectation. Several other people looked at the snake-haired woman with a little astonishment. You are so courageous. Are you too dare? How dare to be the scariest in the world? The greatest majesty made such a request? Zero was taken aback when she was asked, and then grinned again. Yes. Thank you, Your Majesty. You really are the most handsome in the universe. The strongest, the greatest existence. Gorgeous said with a cheer, and then took out her mobile phone and compared it with a V-shaped hand and started taking selfies. Other people watched with enthusiasm. They naturally knew why the Gorgon made this request. Everyone is a young demonized person, and all have problems with showing off. Will this woman? I will post these photos to Moments. A picture with His Majesty the Dragon God. This is simply the most popular thing in the world. Alright, they want it too. A group of people looked at Shillong pitifully, with their purpose self-evident. You can shoot if you want, but only for 1 minute. Shillong believes that as the gods of all demonized people in the entire world, and their admirers, while maintaining their majesty, it is necessary for others to understand their amiability. Yes, it helps to enhance his image. Majesty and dear is the kingly way. Part 2. A group of people heard Shillong's words, cheered, and quickly started shooting. The sound of creaking is endless. 1 minute passed quickly, making these new generation little guys a little bit reluctant to stop shooting, but Shillong had already put them into the sea and then flew up to the clouds. And they did not rush to let the driver drive away from the cruise ship, but quickly started to pretend to be forced on the circle of friends on various chat tools. With a bunch of group photos, and then a sentence below. What? This naive blue. This sea is so beautiful. Today is really my lucky day. On the 7th day of wandering in the sea with my companions, I chanced upon the most handsome in the universe. The greatest, the strongest life. Your Majesty Shillong Soberg. This kind of information is like a tornado, quickly sweeping through all the information channels such as Moments of Friends. A large number of people began to leave messages below them. I'm going. Your Majesty's picture is from P, right? You want P to look like a little bit. It's so big. It looks like 600-700 meters in length. Don't you think me haven't read a book? You guys are so courageous. Actually, even Your Majesty gave P to show off. Be careful that the Dragon God and Guard ask you for tea. Damn. Seeing this information, a few bragging guys were naturally upset and left a message directly below. You are my grandsons, okay? You guys are blind. I won't go to experts to see if I am P. What does Your Majesty only have 160 meters? Humph. Rare and strange. It must be that Your Majesty did not show up more than 40 years ago. He ruled the whole world when he was born. Regardless of those guys who took pictures of Shillong to show off, Shillong flew into the sky and spit out a smartphone from his mouth, which was his mobile phone. I didn't see any movement from Shillong. The number buttons on it jumped, and a call was made soon, and the phone floated to Shillong's ear. The other side was connected quickly. Came a respectful voice. Your Majesty, may your divine power last forever. Divine glory shines on all things. Well, how is the management of the human world in the past 10 years? Shillong asked directly without talking nonsense. Your Majesty, please rest assured that your subordinates have absolutely and resolutely implemented all your will. All humans and demonized humans have coexisted in perfect harmony and merged with each other. Compared with the previous 10 years, pure humans have eliminated 50%, and the whole world is pure. There are only 5% of humans left. You did a great job, Xylem exclaimed. This is the index set by Shillong for the brain before going to sleep. It requires the demonized person to intermarry with ordinary humans and increase the overall share of the demonized person. After all, compared with ordinary humans, the demonized person's belief in him is definitely much stronger. Is the main source of faith. For Your Majesty, I will use 200% of my power to complete all tasks. Brain Demon, you let the satellite locate my location. I was sleeping on an island before, but why did I wake up on the bottom of the sea? After finding it, send me the video of my sleep. I want to see who is so bold who ruined my sleeping island and made me fall into the nasty sea. Shillong said solemnly. The Brain Demon is the brain, but Xylem disliked his bad nickname, so he changed it. He, who is at least 6 to 70 years old now, is still full of vitality. It may be because of the mutation of the race. He is no longer a short-born species of humans, and the specific lifespan is especially unknown. The lifespan of a demonized person can be long or short. This is the data obtained by Shillong during the previous sleep. May only be 3 to 40 years short, because some demonized people have grown old and died normally. Those are not powerful variants, and their abilities and looks are strange. Maybe hundreds or thousands of years long. A powerful individual like a brain demon obviously belongs to the longevity species. On the whole, the world has undergone more than 40 years of development, and the population has gone from 1 billion, close to 2 billion, to 3.2 billion today. This is also related to Shillong's policy of encouraging childbirth. Is a source of faith after all. His daily income of faith has changed from around 1.3 million before to 2.5 million a day now. This year, there are about 900 million beliefs. Although it is nothing compared to the 1.5 trillion spent before, it is his foundation, is the main source of faith in the future. This achievement is all due to his correct policies, but But there are also some hidden dangers. That is, the increase in population makes the human living environment more dense. Fortunately, there are many types of demonized people, and the brain demon has specially arranged a special living environment for them. Some of them become aquatic creatures, so let them live in the water. Some have become jungle creatures, and they yearn for the forest more than they are locked in a cage-like brick and mud house. Others have moved to the plains, hills, and other areas. Because of this, the population density of the entire city does not increase but decreases. What? There are clutters who dare to attack your majesty's sleeping place? Really deserve death. The voice of the brain demon sounded very angry. Your majesty, don't worry. I will find that ignorant as quickly as possible. Then he will be brought to justice. Yeah. Xylem nodded. I am very satisfied with what the other party said. Yes, we are righteous, and righteous us are enemies. That is evil. Will be judged and destroyed. Shillong was in the same place, and after waiting for about 20 minutes, he received the video data from the brain demon. The other party also added an indescribable expression behind the data. Shillong was taken aback for a moment. The brain demon is the most pleasing to him. Shouldn't he continue to flatter him at this time? Why didn't say a word? What is recorded in this data? He clicked on the video, and at first glance he saw himself, who was extremely large, crawling and sleeping on an island about 2 kilometers in diameter. The self in the video should have gone through several years of slumber, and it is a lot bigger than when I first fell asleep. His entire dormant dragon body is embedded in the ground, and there are all kinds of dense spider web-like cracks spreading outward to the edge of the island. Then, the video began to accelerate, and the speed reached more than 100 times, and most people couldn't see it clearly, but for Shillong, there was no problem at all. He watched the spider web-like cracks become more and more, wider and wider, and finally, the whole island split directly. His body sank directly into the sea like this, and the split island became a small broken island with a diameter ranging from tens to hundreds of meters, and began to float away with the waves. Hold the grass. No wonder the brain demon stopped speaking. It turned out that I crushed the island by myself. Am I so heavy? He was a little speechless, glanced at his body silently, and finally replied that the brain demon had received the sentence, and there was no more text. It's a little embarrassing. The truth is that no one in this world dares to provoke him, and the island is also slumbered by him. The weight of his body is definitely over 100 million tons. It's really hard to calculate the specific amount. After all, the body density of each part is different. He opened the attribute panel that G-Brain had evaluated for him and took a look. Level 15 and 3 skeleton level. I still remember 40 years ago. When I first came to this world, it was level 14 and 4 skeleton level. Didn't expect that the overgrowth has only been promoted by a major position for almost 500 years? The strength is really getting harder and harder to improve. I don't know how many years will it take to reach the 16th level? What level is the true god? Well, I'm still too young. Counting overgrowth and the side effects of Time Dragon, he was only born about 100 years ago, but his body has grown for 600 years. Even in the lifespan of an ordinary dragon clan of about 4,000 years, he is not too big. He still needs to grow up as soon as possible. Reduced his body and turned into a human form. Part 3. At this time, he finally no longer looked like a child, but turned into a young man about 20, with black hair, golden eyes, and a strong body, looking quite handsome and extraordinary. Nodding, Shillong was quite satisfied with what he looked like now. Now, even in a human form, his strength is actually as good as the 12th and 7th skeleton level. This is mainly because the body is too strong. Although the real body is only one level higher than 40 years ago, the gap at this level may be more exaggerated than the mortal to the legend. His body turned into a stream of light and quickly disappeared. After returning to human society, Shillong began to absorb 40 years of scientific research on growth. It took a full year to read it, and the effect of the law changed from 12 days. It became 13 days. Then he spent a few more years, reading all the subjects about immortality and flame, and all the laws have grown quite well. The stored beliefs are not moved except for the tens of billions placed in the fragments of the Lord of Dawn. On has also retained more than 7 billion. In the past few years, he has also discovered a lot of problems, such as certain demonized people who have enough points to exchange his blood. After Shillong sent the blood, these guys were poisoned by the blood before they had time to swallow it. Poisoned. Up to this moment, the poisonous zone in his blood became extremely terrifying. That drop of blood poisoned all creatures hundreds of meters around it. Half of the creatures died within a few kilometers, and other creatures were more or less dead. Few negative symptoms. Fortunately, this problem was discovered in the world of Doris Tomb. Only those who have been blessed by magical skills above level 7 can effectively resist the poison in the air. A large number of priests released their own resistance magic, and then approached the blood, disinfected the blood 108 times, and the curse was lifted. Only when the deadly poison was eliminated, they did not directly give it to the changer. After all, the power of this blood has been strengthened into this virtue, and one drop is divided into 10 drops to be taken separately by the exchange person. Not to mention, the effect is basically the same as before. Days seem to have become boring. Zero seems to have returned to the time before he crossed. Every day he only started to do what he wanted to do, playing games, and chasing after anime, but he found that he didn't seem to be able to return to the past. Especially the current Shillong, his sense of reaction is already inhuman. At first, he may be unfamiliar with the game, but as long as he is familiar with it, then he is absolutely impossible to lose. It's impossible to lose even a trace of blood. He is more serious than a machine. It may be cool at the beginning, but after a year or two, he completely lost interest in these games and animation. After watching it for a few years, he also lost interest. He started to miss Armin and them a little, but he knows that he can't go back now. He is definitely not the opponent of the Lord of Dawn Wuxia world. Online looking forward to exploding and fighting each other. It is not his combat aesthetics. Crush the enemy. Let the enemy confess in despair and pain is the most in his heart. He felt that he had to do something that could quickly improve his strength. Work out? It doesn't make much sense. Natural growth such as sleeping? Too slow. How good would he be if he had tens of thousands, tens of trillions of beliefs? Shillong couldn't help but think so. But in fact, he now only has more than 10 billion beliefs. Although it is not a lot, it is really nothing compared to the previous 1.5 trillion. Based on his current calculation of 2.7 million a day, it will take more than 1,500 years to save 1.5 trillion beliefs. Too slow. It must be accelerated. If my faith is 10 million a day, or 100 million, how good would it be? He couldn't help thinking like this, and then began to think he couldn't wait for the humans in this world to slowly multiply and increase their beliefs. He wants to invade other planes. Spread your faith. Like all other gods, develop your own exclusive world of faith. He directly told Demon Brain and other major demonized people that his next slumber might take longer, and then he found a place where no one was going to tear up the space. This time, I still enter other worlds randomly, with his dragon body against the dimensional turbulence. When he reappeared, the place where he appeared was not on a planet with the fragrance of birds and flowers, but on a gaseous planet composed entirely of gray gas. Chapter 308. Shillong was floating quietly at this time. The entrance to the goal is all gray, and there is no breath of life around. Looking down, there is also only a gray fog that can't be seen at the end, but the closer the star core is, the thicker the gray fog, and some have even been compressed into a solid. He boldly inhaled some of the gray gas on the planet, which contained a little energy. Generally speaking, it seemed to be a planet of little value. His brows wrinkled lightly. Without intelligent creatures, he could not develop his own believers. Then this crossing is meaningless. It seems to be crossing again? But he immediately became cautious. This kind of crossing was too random. It might not be a bad thing to travel here by myself this time. At least it reminded him. If the next time you cross directly and appear on a neutron star or black hole, wouldn't you just die? He thought about this problem. Although the probability is very low, he has to guard against it. Let's portray the portal honestly in the future. At that time, send your hands to explore the way first. There is also to minimize the number of random transmissions. After all, if you use a portal, the portal is interoperable. What if there is a monster stronger than him and directly invades his world? Don't you want to run away in such embarrassment? Okay, have to guard. Shillong's brain came to life at once, thinking a lot. In the end, he is still going to continue to check this star field to see if there are other planets. Even if the journey is farther, it is better than opening the plane portal without restriction. Look up at the stars. There is a huge golden star on the upper left, emitting endless heat. The planet he is on should not be too far away from the golden star. No wonder the temperature of at least 800 degrees here makes him feel a little comfortable. It turns out that it is relatively close to the star. He turned his head and looked at a planet on the right. It was an asteroid composed entirely of purple, much smaller than the gray misty planet he was currently on. It has been emitting a mysterious purple light. Shillong looked at it with the super longan that he had advanced many times, and there were creatures moving there. Purple weird plants all over the ground, as well as curious creatures. Shillong watched carefully for a long time and found that these creatures didn't seem to be smart, and all their actions were mostly instinct. There is no need for this creature to spread faith. Then he looked at a colorful planet not far from the bright purple star. About half of the planet was filled with blue, and half was composed of gray, green, etc. This is a human life planet similar to a blue star. However, in addition to humans, there seem to be some creatures that are not ordinary animals. These creatures have extraordinary powers. After checking carefully, Shillong found that their abilities are really diverse, and they are not inferior to his demonized humans. Humans and these creatures seem to get along very well. Basically, one of the 2 or 3 humans will bring an extraordinary creature and walk on the streets like modern society. Everything about humans is closely related to those extraordinary creatures, and the proportion of the two is more extraordinary. Moreover, these extraordinary creatures seem to have very good intelligence. Shillong has seen that they have communicated with many humans. For example, in a supermarket, a young man brought a gray-skinned supernatural creature like a squirrel to buy something. Shillong clearly saw the young man pointing his finger at the shelf in front of him, facing the supernatural creature like a squirrel. Move your mouth. The squirrel-like supernatural creature immediately opened its mouth and finally used his little finger to hold a bag of nuts, and then humans put the nuts in the shopping bag. There is also a cat with a long tail, rolling up a pin to do homework for a child, and that child is playing games. There is also a person playing a fighting game with a small monster with 3 hands and a similar human in human shape. These are all manifestations of wisdom. All humans on this planet. All have the qualifications to spread my glory. Shillong was very happy that this trip didn't seem to be in vain, but he found that his distance from the planet didn't seem to be short. He doesn't know how much, but it is estimated to be about 10 million kilometers. And now his flying speed is within the atmosphere, at least about 7 times the speed of sound. There is no restriction of gravity in the universe, and he does not need to spend extra experience to use gravity to eliminate his own gravity. His speed will only be faster. Slightly adjusted the direction of flight, Shillong spread out his dragon wing, and the end of the dragon wing instantly ejected a 1,000-meter-long red-gold flame. In the next instant, the huge body of the dragon disappeared. It turned into a red-golden meteor and slammed straight towards the Star of Life at 10 times the speed of sound. Calculated according to Blue Star time, 5 days later, the red-gold meteor formed by Shillong had just flown halfway, and various cosmic rubbles were floating on the flight path, all of which were crushed one by him. His speed did not decrease at all, and he continued to hit the Star of Life. And in the atmosphere of the Star of Life, a large number of round blue-skinned creatures live here. They are like beholders. Their entire body is made of eyeballs. They should be hideous and terrifying creatures in the imagination. They are strangely cute. These creatures are the eyes of this planet. They have super viability, do not need to breathe, do not need to eat. They can survive as long as they absorb all kinds of microenergy, and they have supervision. After being cultivated by humans, he has been in his current job, observing all actions outside the planet. If there is an abnormality, they will report their human master. At this time, there were big eyeballs outside the planet and saw the scarlet golden meteorite formed by Shillong. This meteorite bumped into the planet strangely. I thought it would be crushed with other gravel blocking the road, but it seems to be extraordinarily strong. Shattered all the meteorites blocking the road. With an unstoppable attitude, I want to descend on the planet. Buzzing, the body of one beholder vibrated, and in a peculiar way he began to contact other beholders within the planet. It needs to report this situation to its owner. Inside the planet, in a building like a military base. In a separate luxurious room, a middle-aged man in military uniform was dealing with affairs in front of the computer, but suddenly, he had been placed in a concave basin next to him. The blue iron ball with a diameter of only 50 or 60 centimeters suddenly opened, eyes humming and shaking. After hearing this voice, the middle-aged man on one side changed his expression. What happened? Clairvoyance? Buzzing. The blue-skinned beholder known as clairvoyance continued to shake, but immediately its eyes began to glow with blue light, and a beam of blue light shone directly on the curtain directly opposite it. A starry sky scroll appeared on the entire screen. In the messy and beautiful starry sky full of rubble, a red gold meteor between the gray mist star and the magic purple star continuously smashed the rubble at an extremely fast speed and moved forward. Seeing this picture, the middle-aged man's complexion changed instantly. As if thinking of something, he asked aloud, "Is this meteor coming towards the Earth star where we are?" Buzzing, clairvoyance. The entire eyeball is swinging up and down, as if nodding. It seems a bit bad. This meteorite should not look big, but it seems very strong. Even if it falls into our planet, it should not burn out completely. Then, tell me, with its current path strength, where will it land? Buzzing, clairvoyance shaking his body. The picture on the screen began to change, and soon became an endless sea. Sea mile? There was joy on the middle-aged man's face. It would be fine if it is the sea mile. Clairvoyance has reduced the picture I see. Let me see where the Earth star is here, and the nearest city. How far? Clairvoyance buzzed again for a while. Then the whole picture began to shrink until the first city near the sea was exposed. Part 2. Looking at this city, the middle-aged man frowned and muttered, "This should be the Dragon King city." As he spoke, he opened his military uniform, and there was a special large belt around his waist. The belt looked very special. Every few centimeters on it, there would be a dimple with small stuffed on it. The middle-aged man took a small ball with a diameter of no more than from the special belt. After the small ball got out of the hole in the belt, it magically doubled in size, and then the middle-aged man pressed a button on it. The small ball was opened directly, and a little monkey who looked like a 5-year-old child jumped out of it. The monkey's eyes are very divine, and a faintly wise light flickers. After coming out, there is no normal monkey naughty, but very quiet. With a smile, the monkey said to the middle-aged man, "Amway, what do you call me? I'm still playing the ghost hero game. You disturbed me." Its voice sounded a little old, and it didn't match the appearance at all. "A Ling, look at the next screen. How far is the center of the sea area above from the nearby Dragon King city?" the middle-aged man said. "Oh." The wise monkey named a Ling glanced at the curtain in surprise. "What happened?" "A strange meteorite is flying towards the Earth star, and it may cause disaster." "Oh." The wise monkey nodded clearly, and immediately communicated with clairvoyance. The scene on the screen changed again and again, and finally the wise monkey said, "Don't worry, this meteorite is not threatening. His current speed is about 11 times the speed of sound, and it will take 5 days to descend into the sea dragon domain of the Earth star. The nearest city of Dragon King is more than 100 kilometers away. With the power of this meteorite falling through the subtraction of the Earth's atmosphere, there is no danger to Dragon King City. Really don't worry, you just need to pay attention when you send a few professional spirit monsters from local cities." "Well, then I can rest assured." The middle-aged man breathed a sigh of relief. "Okay, I'm going back to play the ghost hero, goodbye." As the wise monkey said, he jumped and fell on a sphere not far away. Its body shrank and jumped into the sphere and disappeared. The open sphere also closes by itself. "Hey you monkey, you have been addicted to games. Be careful to become a waste monkey." The middle-aged man shook his head helplessly. "Huh, my old man doesn't need your stinky boy to educate. Just take care of yourself. Stinky kid. Don't think about who raised you when you were a kid when your parents were away. Now that you grow up, you dare to talk to me like this?" The voice of dissatisfaction with the wise monkey was heard from the sphere. You think I haven't said anything?" The middle-aged man shook his head helplessly. He immediately called his subordinates and ordered the defense of the Dragon King city. In his opinion, it is just taking precautions before they happen. Just a little bit of meaning. 5 days have passed. On the coast of the Dragon King city, there have been more than a dozen in-service spirit masters of the Spirit Alliance gathered here. By their side, they all carry at least 3 spirits, and these are all spirits of the psionic system. It is used as a precaution. Although the above said there is nothing wrong, everything is in case. If there is a small wave, the flood-fighting army formed by them will jointly resist. A total of 5 to 60 psionic spirit monsters are enough to resist a 10-meter level monstrous wave. "Come on, a meteorite has really fallen," a spirit master suddenly said, staring straight at the scarlet gold meteorite in the distant sky. Even in the daytime, it is like a bright light in the night. Dazzling. Everyone watched it slowly fall towards the sea, until the moment it fell into the sea. The violent impact rolls up the huge waves. The waves are clearly visible, even if they are 100 kilometers away. It seems to be much more violent than they expected. A bald ghost teacher immediately changed his face and said in shock, "Is this wave a bit too big?" "It's okay. The distance is far away. It's definitely not possible to get to our side. You are optimistic. The wolf will disappear in 10 minutes. Someone disapproved. "Okay, I hope so." The bald spirit master frowned, and finally chose to trust the intelligence of his companions and the Federation. But soon, 10 minutes later, the waves became clearer, and the power was still terrifying. "That's not right. I feel so wrong. This wave, will it really disappear?" Someone panicked. "It's okay. We are still more than 60 kilometers away. Don't worry." "Yes, there are more than 60 kilometers." It was another 10 minutes later. The waves are more than 30 kilometers from the coast. Looking at the giant wolf whose power has not diminished much, finally, the bald ghost master was not calm. He ran to the calm guy before, lifted his collar and said, "Hold the grass, Nima. You were telling me. Once again, you told me that this wave can't make it?" I. The man was speechless. "Enough. Now is not the time for infighting. Hurry up and rule the Federation. This wave is not small. There is definitely a crisis of flooding the city." A spirit master stood up and pulled the two infighting away. "Damn it. It should have been reported long ago." The bald muttered. "Quickly dial the Federal Communications and ask for support." After spending more than a minute, he reported the situation to the Federation, and the Federation quickly responded to the message, saying that it would send reinforcements immediately. However, within a few minutes, a large number of spirit masters rode their spirits to the coast one after another. They all received a notification from the Federation on their mobile phones and rushed there. For the sake of the peace of the city, and as the Confederate staff, they have the obligation to protect the safety of the city. Of course, there are also a lot of non-organized spirit masters, and it is nothing more than a sense of justice that urges them to do so. In another minute, the waves are getting closer and closer to the coast. When less than 10 kilometers, Everyone can see the horror of the waves more clearly. That is, even after a distance of 100 kilometers, there are still waves 20 to 30 meters high, come surging. Looking at the situation, if it can't be stopped, it will definitely cause immeasurable damage to the interior of the city. The bald spirit master patted his head. He took a look at the distance, and on average about 5 meters, there would be a psionic spirit team. This brigade has expanded horizontally several kilometers away, and thousands of ordinary spirit masters, under the leadership of more than a dozen elites, are ready to fight the wave. The team lineup is absolutely powerful, but the bald elites still feel that it is not enough, and the other spirit masters are also solemn, as if they are facing an enemy. When the wave was still 5 kilometers away, a middle-aged man riding a pippy shrimp ejected from a distance. This middle-aged man seemed to be very famous. After seeing him, all the anti-sea warriors showed a little relief. The bald elite also smiled. The owner of the Dragon King Taoist Hall, you can count as the curator Shillong. Pong. The pippy shrimp-like spirit is very large, about 6 meters in length. When it hits the ground, the entire ground vibrates gently. The middle-aged man turned over and jumped off the spirit. He took out a space ball to put away the spirit and said, "This is no ordinary trivial matter. As the curator of Dragon King City, how can I not come? I am sorry for my duty like that." He looked at the waves with a serious expression. "This wave is far less optimistic than I thought at the beginning," he muttered. He also knew about the news that a meteorite fell into the sea before, but the upper level said it was a trivial matter, and he didn't care about it. Now that Chunxiang has evolved into a city-destroying crisis, he took out 2 space to release 2 spirits. One is like a huge blue sea cucumber, and the other is like a dragon, with a body length of more than 25 meters and looks extraordinary. Everyone looked at ease when they saw the 2 spirits. With the super sea cucumber and sea dragon, curator sea dragon, there should be no problem with this wave. The bald man complimented. Part 3. I hope so, curator Shillong said to himself. Booming at this time, the roar of the waves finally reached everyone's ears, and it sounded like the roar of the sea god. Let a group of people who had become confident because of the joining of curator Shillong began to panic again. Until the waves were only a few hundred meters away. That terrifying wave, still more than 20 meters high, really showed up in front of everyone. More than 20 meters high. A terrifying wave as high as 8 or 9 stories. Stretches for tens of kilometers. It's just coming with the momentum of swallowing the sky. That terrifying shadow made everyone feel guilty. If this kind of huge wave hits humans without protection, it will definitely die on the spot, right? At this time, the Shillong curator shouted angrily, "Sea Dragon King, use Ding Hai for me. Slow the impact of the waves. All other spirits, use all psionic barriers. Hold the waves to me. Protect the city behind us. We are the patron saint of the city. How can you be afraid of the mere waves?" Oh. The crowd seemed to be inspired, and they roared one by one, and the spirit monsters around them were wrapped in blue light. A blue light curtain appeared in front of you, and all the blue light curtains were connected into one piece. It looked extremely magnificent. This light curtain stretches for more than 10 kilometers, and the height is almost 30 meters. It is a huge blue wall against natural disasters, and the huge eyes of the specially named sea dragon with blue brilliance appeared, and the speed of the horrible waves that were getting closer and closer seemed to be slightly slowed down, and the sound of the waves was a little quieter. But it did not stop, until, boom! The terrifying waves hit the psionic barrier fiercely, causing the entire barrier to sway slightly. Top, withstand it. Someone yelled happily as soon as the wave was stopped outside the psionic wall. Not yet. The waves are wave after wave. It is far from the end now. Don't let your guard down. Curator Shillong roared. Boom! As Curator Shillong's voice fell, the entire psionic barrier was once again hit by terror. The whole barrier shook even more. A few of the weaker spirits are even more faltering. Boom! The psionic barrier was hit again. More psionic spirits trembled all over, and those with weaker strengths fainted directly because of excessive mental energy consumption. The entire psychic barrier shining with blue light is even more dim. Damn it! Some spirit fainted. When will this wave end? Someone roared in panic. Hold on. Curator Shillong is fighting the waves with us. There is this adult. We will not fail, someone shouted encouragement. Boom! Another wave is on the psionic barrier. A group of psionic spirits passed out. The psionic wall is getting dim. Block. Can't stop it. Can't stop it at all. I don't want to die here. Someone shouted in panic. My life. It shouldn't end here at all. He is not a federal staff member Wuxia naturally. He is not willing to lose his life here. While he roared, he turned around and ran away. When the spirit beside him saw his master running away, he turned around and ran. Damn. Don't give up. We haven't lost yet. Why run? The people around him roared angrily. Unstoppable. Federal bastards. Actually let our people in this city fight the waves. They killed us. They killed everyone in the city. I will never kill them for their mistakes. The man let out a desperate cry, turned around and started to run away. A large number of people who were not firm in their will turned around and fled together. For this reason, the psychic barriers became more and more dim. Curator Shillong's face was gloomy. He watched a group of people run away and couldn't stop them. This time, it was indeed the Federation's dereliction of duty. It's because they didn't think well. Dragon King City is just a small coastal city, and there is no too strong combat power to stop this tsunami that is far more terrifying than expected. Even because of the tight deadlines, many good spirit masters in the city did not rush over. Chapter 309. The occurrence of this situation is also in the expectation of Curator Shillong. In the face of death, it is normal to run away. But as a curator-level figure of the city, he can't hold back the slightest. Boom! Another terrifying wave hit the barrier. The entire psionic barrier began to appear as spider web cracks. Kaka! Everyone panicked, and a large number of people began to flee. Still persisting, the faces gradually showed horror. Don't run away, everyone. We can hold on. Let go of our other spirits and protect ourselves, and we won't necessarily have trouble. Someone wanted to save, but the others are not fools. One of them yelled out, "My psionic spirit is in a coma. I have made my due contribution to this defense. Is there anything wrong with me leaving this dangerous place now? Staying is nothing but chaos. Except for the spirits of the psychic element, only the possessed element can save our lives in this wave. But unfortunately, I don't have the possessed element. I will never let my only psionic spirit go into a coma like everyone else. Then I will definitely die in this terrifying wave." Someone screamed again. As the spirit master, the contrast spirit is too weak. They can't stand the beating of this terrifying wave. In the face of this terrifying ocean wave, without the personal protection of psionics and attached system spirits, they are no different from ordinary people. Don't go. What to do with the city behind us? Have you forgotten our duties and beliefs? Boom. Another huge wave hits the barrier. The whole barrier finally couldn't stand the ravages of this violent violence, turned into fluorescence and dissipated, and all the spirits still resisting appeared a lot of dizziness and coma. This is a sequelae of the failure to do everything possible. Seeing that huge wave that shades the sun and leaves only a terrifying shadow hit everyone, and immediately fell. Curator Shillong shouted, "Aptun Sea King Ginseng, use your last psychic power. Protect all the humans you can protect." The blue sea cucumber, which is larger than the average person, emits intense blue light, and the spirit masters and the stunned spirit monsters within a few kilometers are wrapped in blue light. Those who were not wrapped further away looked at the waves desperately. Time seems to stand still at this moment. The terrifying waves and the terrified human beings painted a picture of despair, until a loud voice resounded through the coastline. "Extreme Ice Dragon! Roar!" Accompanied by the roar of the sky-shaking dragon, an ice-blue beam of light passed behind all the desperate people and slammed into the sea. Then swipe left and right. Click, click, click. The seawater that was about to fall was actually frozen instantly. The terrifying waves are completely frozen. All the desperate people looked at the huge wave of ice that was close in front of them in disbelief, and a strong sense of unreality emerged in their hearts. They looked towards the sky behind them in a daze, and saw a man wearing a peaked cap riding on a terrifying dragon made of white ice crystals and a body length of more than 60 meters. The huge dragon opened its hideous mouth, and a blue beam of light spitting out the frozen sea passed over them. All the sea surface swept by the beam of light instantly became ice. The dragon drove around on the huge waves, and the fast freezing clicks echoed all the time. It wasn't until 10 seconds later that it returned to the shore and landed. Boom! The huge body fell, and the entire coast shook. At this time, those who ran away did not run away anymore, and their expressions were shocked and ashamed, and there were some doubts and disbelief. It seems that I can't believe the terror tsunami that made everyone desperate. Everyone. Hard work. Fortunately, you are here to block. Otherwise it would be bad if the waves rushed into the Dragon King City. The man who came suddenly said. His voice is not loud, but it spreads far away on this strange and quiet coast. Very clear. The man who came suddenly quickly jumped off the giant dragon's head that had lowered his head, and then habitually lifted his blue and white peaked cap with his right hand. Until this time, other people saw the true face of the man. It was a face that looked like a man in his 30s. He looked very energetic, with a comfortable smile on his face. You are the king, Demuzi? Is it really you?" Seeing the man who was right in front of him, he became excited, like a star chaser seeing his favorite star. The whole body was shaking. If there is no second one, It should be me. Damuji laughed. It's really you. It's a great honor. I didn't expect to see King Jitian here. I am your fan. The admirer's tone was very excited, and the words in his mouth kept saying endless. Ah, King Jitian. When the other people saw Okiji admit, they immediately screamed and squeezed past together. Everyone. It's so enthusiastic. Okichi let out a shout and was overwhelmed. The curator Hailong in the distance looked at this scene with a smile on his mouth, and he was very grateful that it was fortunate that the King of Wisdom was there. Otherwise, the consequences would be disastrous. Assholes top federal. Lao Tzu must join you. 100 kilometers away, Shillong had long since disappeared after falling into the sea. To be honest, he himself didn't expect that just one landing could cause such a huge tsunami, and he clearly found a deserted and islandless sea area and landed. Also deliberately slowed down when approaching the sea. But obviously, he still underestimated his current tonnage. The terrible weight of more than 100 million tons, impacting at several times the speed of sound, is far more powerful than the nuclear calm before his growth. He is definitely a real dragon-shaped natural disaster. There is no exaggerated modification in this title. If he didn't slow down before falling into the sea, the tsunami that hit the Dragon King city would not simply be only 20 or 30 meters. I'm afraid it will be 50 or 60 meters by then. More importantly, I am afraid that coastal cities farther away will be affected. Definitely more than one city will be destroyed by a tsunami. Now I am afraid that if he uses his force to fan his wings, he can set off a tornado hurricane in a radius of tens of kilometers. A stomped foot can make the earth fall apart. Rocks disintegrate. Xylem knew that he was terrifying, but how strong and terrifying he was. In fact, he also didn't know very clearly. In the previous world, he hadn't used his real body to incite his wings long ago, and his flight was already dependent on gravity. In the city, he remains human or dragon. Because of this, he would make a mistake when he fell into the sea. Shillong, who had escaped from the sea, had already appeared on a desert island, and what appeared was his human form. Even if it was only a human form, his strength also possessed a level 12 demigod. He did not maintain his dragon body, nor did he want to directly conquer the world by force. Because wanting to conquer this world by force is extremely difficult. As soon as Xylem fell into the sea, he felt a terrifying breath. This breath didn't mean to hide at all. It was wanton and unassuming, as if it merged with the entire sea. This is a terrible creature not weaker than him. Just feeling tightly, Shillong's body made such a judgment. Standing on this isolated island, he faintly felt another terrifying existence that integrated the power of the earth. This is also a power that is not weaker than him, but the source of this power is not on the island, but on a certain continent thousands of kilometers away. Shillong didn't expect that as soon as he entered the new world, he felt two powerful breaths of creatures that could rival him. This world is different from the low-level world of Dora's tomb. He must be more cautious. Otherwise, it is no joke to be besieged by those two super creatures. He doesn't want to confront this kind of enemy before he understands it. Part 2. After all, as a stable plutonium dragon, he has always engraved the word go in his heart, and believes that there is no enemy that can't be solved in 1,000 years. There are only 2,000 years. 3,000 years. 1,000 years. What I have at Shillong is the time and potential to get up. If it weren't for the rapid improvement of strength, return to the main material world and Armin earlier, Viola will reunite, and early teach the gods who look at him with colored eyes. He is unwilling to leave the world he has conquered and venture out. In the end, his figure disappeared on the island in a flash. The city on the coast, inside the Dragon King city. A young man about 18 years old and 1.9 meters tall, looking extremely strong, was walking slowly on the street. This city, which was almost flooded by the terror tsunami, didn't seem to be affected much. There are still some people wandering in the wide streets. The city does not seem to be particularly prosperous, and there are not so many shops on the street. It seems to be a characteristic of the city. Every distance there is a large open space. There will always be a few young people controlling their own extraordinary creatures to fight with others. Shillong stopped in a clearing and looked at the two extraordinary creatures in the decisive battle on the field, fighting under the control of their respective owners. It was a chrysanthemum yellow-pointed mouse and a fiery red kitten. Both of them are only the size of an ordinary domestic cat, and they look very cute. Flame cat. Use the flame beam to attack the drill mouse. Drill mouse. Get away. Then use the maximum force to hit the flame cat. Under the control of their respective owners, the fiery red cat spouted a pillar of flame from its mouth and attacked the drill mouse. But the agility of the drill mouse is extremely fast. A few leaps, calmly dodge the flame pillar at the same time. It is constantly approaching the flame cat. Until the distance between the two sides approached 5 meters, the drill rat dodged a flame again. It's now. Drill rat. With this shout, the The drill mouse who evaded a flame once again twisted its hind legs and turned into an afterimage, slamming into the flame cat fiercely. Quickly avoid it. Another shout sounded. But, pong, meow. With a scream of the cat, the flame cat was hit and flew out, and fell to the ground and couldn't move. But, why did my flame cat lose to you this mouse again? Obviously, there should be restraint in attributes. The owner of the flame cat is a little boy with a flat head. He was unwilling to see his flame cat fall down, walked over and picked it up and shouted, "Hey, this is the gap between me and you. Your strength is too bad. You who are so bad, the opponent is the future king of me? Isn't it normal to lose?" The owner of the drill rat is a child who looks a little sturdy. Shillong even saw through his clothes that he had six-pack abdominal muscles on his stomach, which was only about 10 years old. Did this kid exercise with his extraordinary creatures since childhood? Shillong thought so. Black Tiger, don't be too mad. The future king? It just won a few of our amateurs. You kind of duel with my brother. He will definitely pee your bitter rat. The losing child said unwillingly. There are many children beside this child, and they are also a little unhappy looking at the Black Tiger, seemingly also the opponent's defeat. That's right. There is a duel with a Chang's brother. You don't need Ah Chang's elder brother at all. A grown-up elder brother and sister on the road is not a Black Tiger you can deal with. You are far from the king. Uranus is not as weak as you. The other children shouted together. Huh. The wailing of the defeated dog. I am the future king of Black Tiger. It is not at the same level as you. The child Heihu clasped his chest with his hands in his arms and kept mocking the opposite child. After a while, he turned around and just saw Zero, who had been watching and incarnate as a young human. His eyes lit up slightly. Hey, that strong guy over there. Come down and fight me. Heihu pointed at Shillong, arrogantly. Xylem was taken aback for a moment, then looked around. No one else, and finally pointed at himself with his finger. You want to fight me? Yes. I want to prove my strength. Even an adult like you. I can beat it. Let a few defeated dogs shut their mouths completely. Heihu said proudly. Come down. I want you to know how good I am. But, I don't have a pet like you. Xylem said. No? How could it not? It is absolutely impossible for people nowadays. You put your spirit in the spirit ball, and you want to lie to me and say no? Bastard. Are you underestimating my Black Tiger? Think I am unworthy to fight you? The child Heihu instantly became angry, as if he had been greatly insulted. Xylem was a little hard to understand why the child was so magnificent, frowned, and did not speak. Asshole adult. I want you to pay for underestimating the future king. The drill rat knocked down the adult with the impact. Black Tiger roared. Squeak. The drill rat neighed and hit Shillong as he moved. Hey, Black Tiger, are you crazy? What if the eldest brother over there doesn't have a psionic system or a spirit monster attached to the system and is injured by you? The child on the side cried worriedly. Then he is unlucky. This is the price of underestimating the future king. Black Tiger roared, seeing the drill rat getting closer and closer to Shillong. Shillong's brows were also getting more and more frowned. The dark pupils under the sunglasses shrank instantly, and the stream of golden particles around the pupils also shrank. A terrible mental coercion directly pressed on the drill rat. Crack! The drill rat screamed, plunged his limbs into the ground fiercely, and made a sudden break action, then turned and ran towards his owner, the Black Tiger. After approaching, he directly rushed into the arms of the Black Tiger, and the Black Tiger also held the drill rat in his arms out of instinct. His face was still stunned, and it took him a while to react. He felt a little wet in his chest, and his hands holding the drill rat were sticky. Look down. Huh. Ah. Heihu exclaimed and threw the drill rat to the ground. He looked at the grayish-brown sticky hands and the yellow liquid on his chest in horror, and pointed to the drill rat and said angrily, You actually and pee on my body? Squeak. Squeak. The drill mouse seemed to lower his head in shame, but immediately shuddered again, hiding behind the Black Tiger, looking at Shillong in fear. Are you actually scared like this by this adult? Heihu said angrily, then turned to look at Shillong. Damn adult. I underestimated you. The trick just now was that you were hiding in the monster ball. The mental pressure used by psionic spirits, right? Power is not weak. Can actually scare my drill rat. You guy. I admit that you are qualified to be my opponent on the Black Tiger growth path. Just wait. Let's compete again in the city challenge in the future. Heihu threw down his harsh words angrily and left quickly. The drill rat behind him hurriedly pointed his at the ground and twisted it back and forth, seeming to wipe his ass. Then he followed the Black Tiger. At this time, the other children surrounded Shillong and looked at him with admiring eyes. Big brother, you are so amazing. The spirits did not show up and defeated the arrogant Black Tiger with one move. Big brother, what kind of weird you are. It's so amazing. I also want my parents to buy one that is the same as Big Brother. Big Brother, Big Brother. A few children were chatting around Shillong, and their admiration was beyond words. The power of faith that was invisible to the naked eye flows from them into Shillong's body. The beliefs provided by these children are actually higher than the average demonized person. Their people worship is very pure and real. Shillong was very surprised. Looking at these little guys who kept asking and admiring him, the corners of his mouth were slightly cocked and smiled, just when he wanted to speak. Part 3. Several young men and women passed by riding on an 8-clawed cancer. One of the people who was still excited said to one side, "Is it true that you said that the news? Has one of the 4 heavenly kings, Okijijin, come to us?" "It's true. I heard that there was a huge tsunami hitting our city, but it was frozen by King Jitian's extreme ice dragon. Hee. I have seen photos in the Jingle group. Can't fake it." "Fuck, brother. Show me the photo." "Ah, King Jitian is here. I really want to see King Jitian soon." The children who had been around Shillong before immediately turned their eyes to the men and women just now, and their eyes began to shine. King Jitian. They actually said that King Jitian. I also want to go with him." A child yelled and hurriedly followed. Several other children also screamed and quickly followed. Only Shillong was left alone watching these people running away. These people are like a signal, and more people appear and flock to the coast. It is completely different from the deserted small cities I saw before Shillong. Is this so-called King Jitian so popular? This kind of popularity is unmatched by any star of Shillong's previous blue stars. Goodbye completely. He looked through the houses and looked at the distant coast. In this city, at least half of the people were leaning on the coast. Too crazy. Then he turned his gaze to the coast, where there was already a huge crowd. But what happened to the icy wave? It seems that I set off. I thought it was all right before. I didn't expect it to be quite big, but it didn't matter. The waves have been frozen. This should be a typical example of how powerful people are. Shillong did not see the ice dragon freezing the waves, but thought that the sea frozen by a group of people led by King Jitian was the strength of the team. He looked at these people, and after a moment of contemplation, he showed a smile. Since conquering with force may cause problems, then change to a softer method. As long as I become the same person as that Zishan Wang, or a more famous person than him, won't the power of faith roll in like that? Look at the crazy energy of those mortals. This idea is great. Very much in line with his identity as a metal dragon, Shillong finally nodded in his heart and finalized this plan. 10 days later, there was a sea forest near Dragon King City, where many spirits lived. Shillong was staying by a big tree at this time, and there were more than a dozen different spirits around them. A spirit like a deer died even more directly. The spirits who were still alive looked at the human being in the middle in terror. They were obviously human. But why is it stronger than these spirits? Even if it is strong, why do you keep torturing them? In these 10 days, this perverted human has been emitting a white light from the body, making them unhappy. Weakness, headache, diarrhea. Various negative states have been with them, so that they have not closed their eyes for 10 days. Just half a day ago, the somber among them finally died. It died of prolapse. Extremely severe diarrhea. Wuxia World. Online it made it, which was originally blue and beautiful, skinny and full of filth. This state of death made other spirits who were not low in intelligence extremely frightened, for fear of becoming the next somber. Why is the big demon in front of him torturing them so much? We are spirits and weird too. With dignity. If you want to kill, can't you hurry up? It doesn't make sense. How could this happen? Shillong looked at the dead somber silently. This somber is clearly illuminated by his radiation. Why is there no sign of demonization? If you want to die, you should die by genetic collapse. How can you die by prolapse? There are more than a dozen other spirits, more than 10 days old. There is no sign of radiation. Could these guys not be radiation at all? Shillong couldn't help thinking like this. Chapter 310. After spending a few more days, he discovered that this is indeed the case. The spirits of this world cannot accept radiation evolution. Damn it. Doesn't this make his plan ruin? Who would worship him without strength? Is it possible to use the real body directly? Unlikely, right? What these guys adore is the human beings themselves, and at best they just love aliens. Shillong recalled the gazes of those human beings, and it seemed that it was true. Only the outstanding of the same kind were the objects of their worship. It's too difficult to worship the alien. Is it possible to shoot other spirits? This seems to be detrimental to his future development. Those spirits will never easily recognize him as the master, and things will get worse when recognized by the real master. So what should I do? Shillong thought for a moment, then took his thigh one last time. Yes. He immediately began to burn the magic circle to return to the Alliance planet. But when he finished burning, an accident happened and the portal did not appear. This is obviously a problem. He checked it again. Yes. All coordinates are correct. But why is it just not working? He couldn't understand it, and then he began to ask Jinao, this guy who had followed the true might know. The result did not disappoint him either. According to wisdom, his current magic circle can only be teleported to the same plane, or a plane derived from the same plane. Want to shuttle between different dimensions, his array lacks some iconic dimensional coordinates. Just like Shillong's previous blue star, when making a call, you can dial the number directly when you make a call in your home country. However, if you call a foreign country, you need to add the area code before the number. After hearing this news, Shillong's complexion looked ugly. Area number? He doesn't have it. Then he couldn't even return to the original main material plane? He had never thought about such a thing before. After all, he had been going back and forth from the main material realm to and from the abyss before, and he didn't see any problems. Now think about it, the abyss is just the main material planet, a derivative world of the star realm. Have a dimension area code? He tried to instantly return to the abyss of the magic circle, but as he was worried, he really couldn't go back. Bahamut, this old guy, actually cheated him. Shillong reacted at once, his expression extremely aggrieved. This old thing. I always thought that he would not lie. Would not lie to me, a young dragon. I didn't expect it. This old guy lied to the dragon. He didn't mean anything. Maid. How does this make him return to the main material world? To know the size of the dimensional universe, it is almost endless. No can know the specific number. Without knowing the coordinates of the original world, it is harder to return to the sky than ordinary people without the help of external force. For this reason, he might never go back. Maybe. Shillong was in a good mood, but it was terrible at once. He kept his face calm and did not speak. The spirits around him who had no strength and had not escaped saw Shillong's complexion, and they almost suffocated and trembled. Non-stop. This demon won't be thinking about torturing them, right? Is there any more terrifying way to die than the death of Somber? After a full day and night of contemplation, the spirits around Shillong did not continue to receive the radiation and finally recovered some strength and escaped. After that, within 2 or 3 kilometers around him, no spirit dared to approach. In this forest near the sea, a legend of a terrifying devil began to spread among spirits. This devil man is stronger than the spirits. He likes to catch the spirits, uses special methods to make the spirits weak, and then stares at them with vomiting and diarrhea, showing a sick and crazy look. I can't go back? Jinao? Xylem asked listlessly. Your original planet is indeed temporarily unable to return, but you can still return to the Alliance planet. G-Brain said. Have you recorded the dimensional area code of the Alliance planet? Yes. Although I can return to Alliance planet. But does it make sense? Xylem couldn't help but mutter to himself. No matter how strong you become, if you can't be with your loved ones in the future, does it still make sense? Can't protect them, can't live with them. It makes sense. Jinao's voice said again. Although the dimension is close to infinity, it is not infinite. As long as you are willing to find it, you will be able to find it if you spend 100,000 years, 1 million years, tens of millions of years, and hundreds of millions of years. Xylem was silent when he heard the words. This wisdom brain said quite reasonable. As long as you keep looking for it, although it may take tens of billions of years or hundreds of billions of years, you may not be able to find it, but there is always hope. And his mother, as well as Armin and other dragons, believe that Bahamut, an old thing, should give his face. Let them become the favored ones and live forever, right? Correct. As long as they can survive. Shillong swears that after finding the old dragon, I will never beat him. If not, don't blame me, Shillong, for not knowing how to respect the old and love the young. He spent a few more days thinking about his future plans all the time, and then he set down the circle of returning to the Alliance star. His figure disappeared in place. When he reappeared, he was surrounded by the brain demon, Duan Tianhao, the eagle headman, the slime monster, the ghost, and the baboon incarnation of the monkey brother. These guys are powerful existences in the Alliance world. After more than 40 years of growth, Duan Tianhao has been infinitely close to the demigod, followed by the brain demon, followed by the ooze monster. This guy is also a radiator of demonization 4. He was originally average powered. After demonization 4, but relying on swallowing the soil formed by the simulated black hole before Shillong, he gained super defense and toughness, and his strength greatly increased. Although the eagle head only had a third-order demonization, he performed very well, and through the rewards of Shillong's franchise and his own efforts, he raised his strength to legend. Next is Ghost and Brother Monkey, who are not yet legendary, but they are infinitely close. As soon as the 5 strange-looking guys appeared in the forest, they looked around with some curiosity. The monkey brother looked at a tree that looked like a banana tree, and his eyes lightened even more. He jumped and came to the tree. The height of nearly 4 meters, he stretched out his big hand, grabbed the banana on it, peeled the banana skin skillfully, and stuffed it into his mouth. His big mouth squirmed a few times, and his face showed a look of enjoyment. Good banana. Is this the banana of another world? The taste is comparable to the best golden banana in the league. This sweetness is just right. It seems to be the sweetness of nature. I actually smelled the fragrance on it. Wait. I seem to feel the taste of first love on it. Oh my god. How can there be such a delicious banana? The monkey brother was full of shock and excitement. After he finished feeling, he took the remaining bananas and jumped back to Shillong and the others. He looked at the crowd with blinking eyes and said, "You want to try it? This taste will never let you down." Brother Hao, Brain Demon and others were silent. Brother Monkey, since he mutated into an orangutan, has been particularly interested in bananas. For 3 meals a day, you must have bananas, and you must have good bananas. Brother Hao remembers that once, because his servant brought him an expired one, he only tasted a bite and made Brother Monkey furious and demolished the whole house. This love of banana deeply shocked him. "Don't you guys eat it?" Brother Monkey was a little stunned, and then said to Xylem, "Your Majesty, wouldn't you try it? He is really special. You haven't tried it." "Yeah," Xylem replied, took a banana and ate it. The taste was really good, so he nodded in approval. The eagle head also took the banana, and after eating it, he began to comb the feathers with his claws. He seemed to have become cherished feathers. After the brain demon ate the banana at will, he praised, "It is indeed the banana approved by your Majesty. The taste is really extraordinary." Part 2. This is the real emperor of bananas. Duan Tianhao remained in the form of a dragon at this time, silently squatting on the ground, a little frightened at the banana that Brother Monkey handed over, and constantly shook his head to signal to ignore me. "Ignore me. It's okay when I don't exist." He hinted at Brother Monkey's eyes, and Brother Monkey rolled his eyes to zero with the corner of his eye, and then silently retracted his big hand. Poor Brother Hao, who is obviously such a cold, free, and easy man. How can he be so timid when he comes to your Majesty? Your Majesty is pretty good for the dragon. He then handed the banana to Ghost. This guy is very small, only the size of a child. Floating in the air, shook his arm, and pointed to his mouth, expressing rejection. His big mouth was cracked to the base of his ears, his long tongue stuck out, and a cherry was placed on it. It went in and out of his mouth all the time, swinging from side to side, as if he was practicing something. Everyone knows the reason, because although the ghost has gained the ability to change virtual and real, his hands and feet no longer have toes, and the things like fingers have become a round shape, including his 5th limbs. He became a sexless man. Despite this, Ghost did not give up his desire for female creatures in his heart. He exercised his tongue day after day. Ventilation. This makes his tongue extremely dexterous. It belongs to the name tongue in the entire league. I heard that because of this, he found his wife. Okay, this is a persevering guy. Even Shillong expressed admiration for his perseverance. After the ooze monster took the banana, he stuffed it directly into the body. Although it can digest it, it has no taste system, but it is a good ooze that is helpful and likes to share beautiful things with others. After digesting the banana, it uses its simulation ability to make part of its body become the banana just now. It made the body split a smile like a mouth and shook the body and said, "Come on, try my banana. You can ask me if you want to eat it in the future." Xylem was speechless, and the other demonized people were also speechless, but Brother Monkey was very happy to stretch out a big hand and buckle a large banana on the slime monster. "Put meat into your mouth." The monkey brother showed his enjoyment again on his face. "It's great. The taste is exactly the same. Also, it's even more refreshing because you can swallow a large amount of banana meat in one bite." He opened his eyes, stared at the ooze monster gleamingly, and said with his thumb, "Your banana. It tastes great. Hee 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 hee. You like it?" The slime monster's body squirmed, seemingly happy to be praised by others, and a large amount of banana meat was transformed into the body again. "Your Majesty, you eat too." Shillong nodded, and took a large piece to taste it. The taste was indeed similar to the original. The ability of this slime monster is really convenient. Shillong looked at him, and thought silently. The brain and the eagle head. You look at me, I look at you. The two of them really have no appetite. They are different from creatures like Shillong that have eaten soil. They were normal humans before. After being demonized, they also eat normal food. Where is it that the first moment is still soil-like material, and the next moment it becomes food for them to eat? Do you talk about hygiene? The two of them, like Brother Hao on one side, kept shaking their heads. What a pity. The ooze monster shook his head regretfully. When you want it, you must tell me. Don't be polite to me. Brother Ooze, don't worry. We want to tell you. Emo now smiled awkwardly. All right, that's the end of the chat. You guys, you should understand why I let you come to this other world. Xylem said. Of course. In order for your Majesty to gain the worship of all human beings in this world, we will dedicate everything and move forward toward your Majesty's expectations. The brain demon said solemnly. Yeah. Shillong nodded. Now we can start. Just take the next city as the first goal. Start the journey of conquest. Follow me. Pretend to be my spirit. Fight against the celebrities there. It should be nothing. Question? Absolutely no problem. Being able to fight for your majesty. It is the honor of my life. The brain demon echoed out loudly. His response was always fast, and the others couldn't even intervene. Also, among you, except for the brain demon, don't talk. At most you can make a fixed hesitation. Don't show too much wisdom, understand? Shillong added another sentence. After the brain demon heard Shillong's words, Yu read www.yukinshu.com's heart brightened. As expected, I am the most important in your majesty's heart. The other demonized people looked at each other and nodded. Next, Xylem took the 6 of them to the nearby Dragon King city. On the way, occasionally encountering a few humans, Xylem always felt that they looked at him a little strange. Sometimes they will point to them. All the way back to the city, the downtown area, the flow of people here is much more than before Shillong. They also looked at him with curious eyes. One of the young women pointed to the demonized humanity around Shillong, who was not human at first sight. Are they your spirits? Yeah. What's the matter? Shillong asked. Don't you know that there is a stipulation in the city that each person can only let one spirit go away from the spirit ball and protect himself personally? Also, the size of the released spirit cannot exceed the R2 level. Other spirits must be treated honestly. It's in the spirit ball. The woman said helplessly. Chapter 311. Xylem was slightly silent when he heard this, so it's no wonder so many people haven't released their spirits. Think about it, too. If they were released, wouldn't those big monsters directly crush the streets and paralyze them? You can't live without it. I think you are also very fashionable. It doesn't look like you came out of a corner of a big mountain. The woman was speechless. In this modern world, there are indeed some ancient human races in some corners. Many people know that they believe in local gods and are very stubborn and unwilling to integrate with modern society. The guy in front of me doesn't look like it. You are not mistaken. I came out of the mountain. This dress was also given by a kind friend I met after I came out. Shillong said with a solemn expression. Is that so? The woman was a little stunned, but she still nodded and said, then you'd better go by the Jingwei ball, otherwise the city guard will invite you to have tea later. All right. After talking about this, the woman paused, and then she pointed her finger at an intersection on the west side. If you want to buy a strange ball, turn left at the intersection. There is a bus shuttle there. You can get off at platform 12, and there is one. The big spirit center contains the spirit you need and some matching things. Hey wait, what am I telling you so much for? Do you know what a bus is? What is platform 12? At the end, the woman reacted. The man in front of him claimed to have come out of the mountain. Can you understand this modern knowledge? Shillong obviously thought of this question and shook his head. Oh, is that so? The woman shook her head helplessly and said, well, do you have money or other valuable things? You give it to me, and I ask my spirit to buy it for you. Shillong, stunned, put his hand into his underwear and took out a pile of gold bars. There are 10 grams, 50 grams, 100 grams, 200 grams, 500 grams, 1,000 grams, 2,000 grams, and there are many kinds of them. I don't know the price of spirit monster equipment. Which one do you think you need? Yo roar? Is this real gold? The woman was slightly surprised. Then she turned her head and looked around, and found that many people were casting their gazes. Their eyes were very hot, but she didn't dare to actually come over and move their feet. The guards of the monsters in the city are not vegetarian. The total amount of gold in Shillong's hands is more than 4,000 grams, a thick pile, dizzy people. Enough. Absolutely enough. The woman nodded, and she stretched out her hand to grab Shillong's arm, and walked towards an open space dedicated to duels. Xylem frowned slightly at this time. He thought this woman was going to take the gold, but he did not expect it to take advantage of him. Cunning woman, lucky you. You touched my noble hand. You can never wash your hands forever. When I came to the clearing, the surrounding site was finally reduced. Well, let's get here first. It's not a good thing to show money on the street. Although the federal law and order are good, there are always illegal people who ignore federal laws and do bad things. When you go out of town, be careful. The woman paused and said again, now let's choose for yourself. What kind of spirit ball are you going to choose for your spirit? This thing is a space-type equipment, which has an independent space like a house. The spirit ball in the big spirit center has ordinary type, luxury type, and super luxury type. The price is naturally different. The ordinary type has nothing but a nest and a TV. Luxurious. The nest inside will be larger, TV, computer will be available, and some special exercise equipment. Let's not talk about the ultra-luxury ones, and your money is not enough to buy one. And my suggestion to you is that every 2 spirits live in a spirit ball. Is it so expensive? Xylem was a little shocked. Of course, after all, the Jingwei ball is made with super advanced space technology, and the price is now relatively cheaper. 50 years ago, I heard that an ordinary spirit ball could be exchanged for a villa in the capital of the Spirit Federation. The woman explained. Yes. Xylem nodded clearly. In this strange world, the research of space equipment is extremely advanced, and it is almost more advanced than the main material world where Xylem is located. Whether it's alive or dead, it can be stored perfectly. So, you have to choose? Xylem thought slightly, and said seriously after a moment. Too luxurious will only make the spirits indulge in TV and the internet. That would make them waste materials. In pairs, I think they might feel lonely. I want to put a few of them in a strange ball. There is increased feelings between them. The woman was taken aback for a moment, and then said, you have a good idea, but the ordinary type of ghost ball can't accommodate them at all. When the woman said this, she pointed to Brother How and Brother Monkey, as well as the Eagle Head Man. Especially the gorilla, the Dragon Man, the Eagle. It is impossible for them to be such a big body together. Brother Monkey and Eagle Head looked at the woman pointing at them in confusion, not knowing why. But when they thought that they represented His Majesty the Dragon God, they straightened their chests and made themselves look full of power. Duan Tianhao hated this woman. Talk as you speak. Why point your finger at me? Whoops. Look here. Look here. The who has been occupying my body looks over. Oh my god. Why not give me a stealth ability? Let my sense of existence completely disappear from this world. Duan Tianhao squatted on the ground, constantly trying to eliminate his sense of existence. Shillong glanced at his own several demonized people and frowned slightly. If this is the case, then 2 ordinary models, okay? It still doesn't work. At least 3. The woman shook her head helplessly. Tisk Xylem was upset and uttered, then 3. If this is the case, it is decided that it is you. The woman buckled a ball of spirits from her belt and released the spirits inside. It was a blue turtle about the size of a 7 or 8-year-old. It was standing all over, standing on the ground with its hind limbs, a pair of forelimbs wrapped in front of the tortoise shell, and wearing sunglasses with an imposing look. Turtle, after the blue-shelled turtle yelled, it rushed directly to the woman's feet and hugged the woman's thighs tightly with her limbs. The cute head started to rub against the woman's thigh frantically, making it extremely insignificant. Damn it, don't always rub my legs. You luscious tortoise. The woman became angry and slammed the blue turtle on the head with her fist. Bang bang bang. This fight didn't show any mercy. The blue turtle was beaten down in a few seconds. Turtle, the blue turtle held his head with his forelimbs aggrieved. Little turtle, I have something to do now. I will find you a little female turtle after finishing it, said the woman. Turtle, it's true this time. I definitely didn't fool you. Turtle, little color turtle, are you going? If you don't, I will stew you to make turtle soup. The woman said, her eyes fixed on the blue turtle. Turtle, the blue turtle called again, seeming to compromise. The woman took a 500G gold bar from Shillong, handed it to the blue turtle, and watched it leave. Huh, the woman let out a sigh of relief, and then smiled. I made you laugh. My blue-shelled turtle has a really bad personality, and it keeps giving me a headache. It's okay, that tortoise is quite interesting. Shillong laughed. Right. Are you going to send a spirit to take a look at it together? The woman suddenly thought of something and asked. No, I can see that you are a trustworthy woman. Xylem shook his head, and the woman laughed happily at such a compliment. After that, the two chatted casually. The other demonized people around Xylem didn't respond, silently, playing in the mud. But Ghost was staring at the woman's bare white legs. The eyes didn't blink at all. There was an indescribable heat, matched with the cherries coming in and out of the mouth and the gurgling noise. Part 2. It made the woman's complexion a bit awkward. Are you just a variant of Spectre? It's really special. It has a human brain, but it's too trivial, right? It feels worse than my blue turtle. Is it wretched? Shillong frowned looking at the ghostly appearance. He stretched out a hand and shook it in front of him, but Ghost's eyes were still staring at the woman's thigh. Ha ha, Xylem sneered, squeezed his palms, stretched out 2 fingers, and then moved suddenly. Flutter. Ooh oh 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 oh, a screaming scream sounded, and Ghost's tongue stretched straight out 10 centimeters, then began to bounce irregularly. The cherry on the tongue also flew out the first time. It withdrew a few meters back, covering its eyes with both hands and wailing constantly. Just now, Xylem burst Ghost's eyes. This action immediately shocked the woman. Hey, hey, are you? You actually burst your own spirit's eyes directly? Isn't it too cruel? This guy actually came for real? The woman was shocked. Although she had hit the blue-shelled turtle before, attacking the blue-shelled turtle with her power was not much different from tickling it. Threatening words are more like a joke. Not really. Every spirit master has unique communication and feelings with his own spirit. But what about this guy in front of him? I'm going. It's ruthless. Is he the devil? That ghost-like ghost? Eyes are bleeding now. Hey. Huh. Asylum was taken aback, and then said, It's okay. It will heal immediately. The pain is just the price she offended you. You helped me, and I naturally want to teach you the ignorant subordinates. As Shillong's voice fell, Ghost's body suddenly became illusory, and the damage he suffered began to recover quickly, and soon a pair of eyeballs appeared again. It glanced at Shillong with some fear. Seeing that Shillong had no follow-up actions, he changed back to the entity again, and no longer knew where he took out a cherry, turned his back and continued to exercise its tongue. Well, this time its eyes will start to look at other girls on the side of the road. Amazing resilience. This must be a very powerful spirit. The woman sighed. At the same time, he secretly said in his heart, This man, the way he gets along with his own spirits is really special. It's okay. Shillong nodded and suggested, Your blue-shelled turtle is not very obedient. If it is a male turtle, I suggest cutting it off, Jean. It might be more obedient, and there is no need to find a little female turtle for him. As the lord of the world, Shillong felt that it was necessary to maintain majesty while maintaining affinity with his subordinates. Thinking in another way, if there is an alien woman who dared to hold his thigh so sullenly and threaten him, he would definitely castrate her. Don't think that it's a woman who can't be castrated. Huh. The woman was stunned, looking at the other person with a serious look. She couldn't help being speechless. Aren't spirits all human beings' best companions? How can they behave like this? What can they do if spirits run wild and rebel? There have been news of abusive spirits before, and finally those people were killed by spirits. The kind woman had to remind Shillong, Sir, I have to remind you that spirits also have their own thoughts. You treat them like this. In case they are dissatisfied with you and run away, what can I do? Dissatisfaction? Run away? Asylum's eyes couldn't help looking at the several demonized people around him. Will you guys? He asked. You. Several demonized people shook their heads quickly. Are you kidding me? Who dares to be dissatisfied with the dragon god? The brain demon said directly, Madam, you really underestimated our loyalty to our lord. Even if my lord is going to kill me now, want me to eat shit, my brain demon will perform my task perfectly. Sacrifice yourself for our lord. It is the greatest and most glorious thing in this world. This is our honor. When Shillong heard this, he looked at the brain demon with admiration. This young man can talk. Be rewarded. Huh. The woman was stunned. She glanced at the other demonized people around Zero and nodded one by one, with a look of approval, feeling lost in thought. Is it really necessary to treat spirits and monsters harder? Am I too kind to spirits? Looking at the spirit of the man in front of him, his loyalty is simply enviable and shocking. This is the spirit that a true spirit master should have, right? The blue-shelled turtles go quickly wuxiaworld.online and come back quickly. Don't look at it as a tortoise, but it is definitely a powerful tortoise. His speed is very fast, and he can jump more than 10 meters in one jump. When he landed, he took off the belt inlaid with 3 spirit and handed some change to Zero. Brother, your belt is bought for you. And your change. The spirit ball I bought for you has a little bit added to it, so it's more expensive than expected. Don't blame me either. After all, I'm also a stranger. I really don't want my brothers to live in your boring ball. I hope you can forgive me. The blue turtle had a sincere expression when he spoke. Chapter 312. But Shillong's complexion stared at the little tortoise a little bit badly, because he saw a pile of paper money and coins hidden in the shell of this little tortoise, but they didn't have it before. Obviously, it was money obtained by embezzling his gold bars. But immediately, Shillong's complexion returned to normal. Forget it. What these people said helped him, and he couldn't be stingy like his subordinates. The corrupted ones should be paid. Well, after I conquer this world, all gold, silver, and jewelry will be confiscated. I just keep it for you temporarily. That's it. Your gold and silver jewelry. Sooner or later it will be mine. A smile appeared on Shillong's face. After receiving the belt, put it on your waist, and then include all the demonized people except the brain demon. By the way, I want to ask you a question. Asylum asked suddenly. What? Before I heard people here are discussing King Zhitian. Everyone admires him. I am very envious. To be honest, I want to be that kind of person. What do you think I should do? To become such a popular person? Same as King Zhitian? How is this possible? The woman said instinctively. But it immediately occurred to him that this might be Shillong's dream. It is not what a good girl should do to directly deny a person's dream. He coughed twice. Sorry. I didn't mean to hit you. Your dream is very precious. If you want to achieve it, it is really very difficult. First, you have to challenge the stadiums in every city, get the stadium badge, and then participate in regional events, national events, world-class events, and so on. The title of King of Heaven is the strong man who won the top 4 in the last world-class competition. In other words, they are the 4 strongest people in the world. Even if it is so difficult, do you want to be the King of Heaven? Of course. Xylem nodded. So do I have to participate in the World Series? Yes. Only the top 4 in the World Series can be called the King of Heaven. But ordinary people are not eligible to participate in this kind of world-class competition. That is a game jointly organized by the 16 powers of the Jingwei Federation. To participate, you must be recognized by the curators of the stadiums in 10 cities, get the corresponding stadium badges, and then get the top 64 places in the national competitions held in your country next year. Then one more year will have the chance to qualify for the World Championship. Challenge the legendary King of Heaven. The woman explained. Is it so troublesome? 2 more years. Shillong frowned. The woman was silent. You. Don't be too arrogant. Heavenly kings are the 4 strongest among the 3.2 billion people in the world. Do you think you are better than the 3.2 billion people? Oh, forget it. It doesn't make sense to you either. It's not good to be too high. Perhaps you must experience a failure to recognize the cruelty of reality. The woman sighed and finally waved to Shillong. Let's say goodbye here. I still have a lot to do. That's good. Thank you for your previous help. Xylem nodded. Watching the woman leave, the devil said angrily, Your Majesty, this stupid woman dares to look down upon you. Allow me to teach her some lessons. No, I just helped us just now. I'm not that stingy. Xylem shook his head. Then he rented a room in a nearby hotel and used the computer inside to find the necessary information. He found that it seems that the only woman who wants to become the King of Heaven is to become the top 4 in the World Series, as the woman said. The so-called gymnasium badge is not what Shillong imagined before to defeat the curator in order to obtain the badge, but need to defeat the apprentice arranged by the curator. It seems simpler than expected, but it is time-consuming. These spirits that can be subdued by ordinary humans, Zero did not think they could be much stronger. Demonized people who want to come are definitely more than enough. There are also myths and legends about this world. The 2 powerful breaths of the ocean and the earth still make him very concerned. He began to search for the words earth, ocean, and God. It really made him find a lot of things. The earth and ocean of this planet each occupy half of the planet, all because of the existence of 2 oldest gods. One is called the of the earth and the other is the of the sea. There are not many records about the 2 gods. This is more like a myth and legend, and the records of the 2 gods are carved on the stone slab. Shillong looked at it, and a picture showed a bear-like monster standing on the ground. Beside it, there were piles of triangles and dense black dots below. There is also a slate that is a huge, whale-like creature swimming in the ocean. Above it, there is a small sun. The next one was that the sea began to rise, and the bear-like monster roared before the ground. The ground began to increase, causing the sea to retreat, and then 2 monsters shook each other. The land is cracked, the tsunami continues, and the world collapses. The slate seemed to be recording this information. Maybe what you felt before was the breath of these 2. Of course, there is much more information about the words of God. There are also humans in small places who believe in local gods. It should be other powerful and transcendent creatures, considered gods by humans. This world also seems to be quite complicated, and there is no doubt that the level of combat power in this world is much higher than the previous one. He began to plan the next challenge route, and only stepped out of the hotel after preparing everything. It was noon and the sun was shining. Shillong took the brain demon floating in the air and went straight to Heilongdao Hall. Said it is a gym, but in Shillong's view, it is more like a school. It is a very open school. There are several buildings inside. There are people who come and go. There are people who look like students in uniforms, with their own spirits, amused. There are some men and women who kiss me and me on the side. Well, no matter what school, this is inevitable, unless there is no opposite sex. There are others who know they are from outside school by looking at their clothes, and they are also going in and out. The whole gym is very lively. Shillong walked to the guard and asked directly where the curator was. He wanted to challenge the curator directly. However, the doorman waved his hand again and again, saying that it was impossible for the challenger to challenge the curator. To obtain the badge, it was the students who challenged the curator and pointed out the path for Shillong. Xylem was helpless, and he couldn't fight the curator hard. After all, this time he valued his reputation very much. Under the shade of a big tree, several beautifully dressed women have been scanning the male outsiders coming and going with their eyes. While pointing with his fingers, he kept muttering and commenting. Look at the one wearing Ali shoes over there. That one is pretty good. What score can you give? 80 points. 75 points. 55 points. Oh? Hiwe, what's the matter with you? Is it necessary to score such a low score? I think it's okay. Nyangli, look at his face. He still wears makeup. I can't bear this kind of thing. 55 points can't be higher. The one called Hiwe is a long, straight black and good-looking guy. Student girl. She looks very gentle, but she is not polite when she speaks, and her image is not very good at this time. With her arms around her chest, like a beautiful girl, the yellow-haired girl snorted, and then pointed to a slightly short figure with a delicate face, who had been teasing herself with a gentle smile and said to her cat-like weird man, "How about this? I think I can do it. Why should I give 85 points? Not bad. It looks like a gentle person. I give 82 points. 80 points. 60 points. The last voice is Haiyue. Do you think this is bad? Then tell me what you think is good." Huang Monv was a little dissatisfied. She felt that her aesthetics had been provoked and denied. "Okay, let you see what the correct aesthetic is." "You can't." Part 2. Haiyue said with a big grin. A pair of beautiful eyes shuttled back and forth in the crowd, like a female hooligan. Soon she locked the target. He stretched out his fingers to a 1.9-meter tall, sturdy man. Even with sunglasses, he could feel a handsome man. Beside him, there was a transparent skull floating around, and he was able to see the brains. "That's it. I can give 95 points. It's 5 points short because I wear sunglasses and I can't give it without seeing the true colors." "Hey, so Haiyue likes this kind of muscular hunk?" The yellow-haired girl smiled. "Seeing you are quite beautiful. Why are you so sturdy? Are you afraid that the thin and small can't satisfy you?" "What do you stupid woman know? This is the experience of the elders. My mother told me, if you find a man, you need to find a strong one. This kind of man is durable. If you add a good face, up." Haiyue didn't say anything shy about what her mother said at the beginning. This is the conclusion she agreed with after watching countless movies. "Cut. I'm afraid it's an embroidered pillow that I don't want to use," Huang Monv said with disdain. "I can only give 60 points. I don't even dare to show his face, and I wear sunglasses. I doubt his looks. Maybe it's a small eye." "Hey." After Huang Monv finished speaking, she said to other women around her, "How many points do you think you can score?" 80 points, it looks good. It's 65 points, after all. I didn't look at the full-length picture, and the monster next to him looks a little scary. The brain is exposed. There is also a series of electric arcs. I am really afraid that his head will explode and splash me. People with this kind of weirdness must be very fierce. Cut. A group of ignorant people. Haiyue curled her lips, stood up straight, brushed her hair gently, and then went straight to the target. The yellow-haired one side quickly shouted, "Hey, Haiyue, what are you doing?" "I'm going to capture my target," Haiyue said without looking back. A few female students were left looking at each other. After Xylem got the goal from the guard, he was approached by a student girl in gymnastics costumes before he took a few steps. She shook her arm and greeted Shillong enthusiastically. "Hi, how are you? Are you a challenger from outside the gym?" Shillong nodded. "Hey, our gym is very big, right? You don't know where the gym is? I'll take you there." The student girl was very enthusiastic. While talking, she approached Shillong. Seeing her stretched out her hands and seemed to want to embrace Shillong's arm, Shillong quickly took a step back and waved her hand. "No, I've already asked others. It's about 700 meters away on the west side of me, so I can go by myself." After speaking, Xylem went straight away. "Huh." The woman looked a little depressed at the back of Xylem's departure, stomped her foot, and followed again. "Oh, you are a real person. One person is better than one person, right? I'll follow you. You don't have to thank me. This is what each of our Heilong Daoguan students should do, in order to let every challenger feel our passion," the woman said after catching up. Xylem glanced at her lightly, without speaking. "Hey, meeting is fate. Handsome big brother, can you tell me your name?" the woman asked as she walked. "Sillen Soderberg. It sounds like a foreigner's name. Should I call you Brother Shillong or Brother Soderberg?" "Just call me Shillong." "Hello, Brother Shillong. My name is Shuabing Haiyue, and you can call me Haiyue. Today is really a special day. We met in the Heilong Taoist Hall." "Hey, woman, don't have to be an inch." The brain demon who had been floating next to Shillong looked gloomy. "You woman, are you showing love to your majesty now?" "Your majesty?" Haiyue was stunned for a moment, feeling that this name is really strange. But some spirit masters are so strange, they like to play role-playing games with their own spirits. She looked up and down Shillong again, with a strange light in her eyes. It turns out that big brother Shillong likes to play role-playing games? Haiyue showed a sensible smile, moved closer to Shillong, and said softly and ambiguously, "Say, what do you want me to call you? Master? Or Dad?" "Hee hee hee." "Oh?" Shillong was dumbfounded. What was in the woman's mind? "Asshole woman, pay attention to your words. Just rely on your strength. Also worthy of recognizing your majesty? Don't look in the mirror to see your own virtues? Want to be your majesty's daughter? It is absolutely impossible, Wuxia world. Online, how does your majesty's daughter get a mortal like you?" The brain demon was furious, the blue arc flashing in the brain door. A dangerous breath came out spontaneously. Perhaps the brain demon's voice was a little louder, and many people around had noticed Shillong and Haiyue, and they looked at them with curious expressions. Haiyue found that something was wrong, and the corners of her mouth twitched slightly, and she whispered softly, "What do you do with the brains? If you don't understand the taste of our human beings, stop talking. This is a conversation between me and your master." "Huh. You are not qualified to talk to my lord." The brain demon stared at the opponent fiercely, not giving way. If it weren't for Shillong's advice, he would have to use his terrifying spirit to make this stupid woman experience unprotected flying 360 times, and then land her head on the ground. What would it be like to plunge into the ground? Chapter 313. Insane. I'm too lazy to care about you. Haiyue found that she and the brain demon couldn't talk, so she turned her gaze to Shillong, but found that the other party didn't seem to pay attention to her at all. "Brother Shillong, why don't you talk? Don't be embarrassed. I know what you men like." Haiyue whispered. Shillong still ignored him. The brain demon on one side continued to curse. Until the inside of the gymnasium, it was really empty, close to the size of 20 basketball courts. Every 2 basketball courts are as big as a battlefield. There are sandy ground, flat ground, Haiti, and woodland. In each battlefield, there are 2 spirit divisions directing their own spirits to fight. A group of people were watching on one side, and they were not afraid of being affected by the battle between the spirits. The main thing was that there was a psychic enchantment around the battlefield. "Sir, did you simply come to enjoy the battle, or did you come to get the gym badge?" asked several gym personnel standing beside the gate. "Gallery badge. Then how many gym badges do you have now?" "No." "Okay, we understand. Please follow our staff to the battle arena. He will arrange the opponent for you," a staff member said, and let the other around him walk towards the edge of the gymnasium with Xylem. In the gymnasium challenge, the difficulty of the challenge will be arranged according to the number of badges the challenger has. The more badges, the higher the difficulty. Those who don't have one like Shillong belong to the junior masters. For the fledgling little Mingxin, in order to prevent these Mingxin from encountering unacceptable setbacks in the initial challenge, the gym will arrange some students to let the challenger duel to cultivate their self-esteem and self-confidence. Coming to the edge, there is a rest room for insiders, and another worker sits outside the door. After the 2 staff contacted, they began to mutter. Finally, he left with Shillong's staff. Shillong also paid the challenge fee of 100 federal currency. Then he saw the staff outside the door crackling on the keyboard. It didn't take long before the other party raised his head. To Xylem, "Mr. Challenger, wait a moment. The tester arranged for you by our gym will be here soon." "Okay," Xylem replied. Then he heard a ding-dong around him, turned his head to look, and saw that the electronic watch on Haiyue's wrist, who had been following him, was beating. She smiled and shook at Shillong, and said proudly, "Hey, Brother Shillong, the player in charge of the game against you is me. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? That's good. Let's start the fight quickly." Shillong raised his eyebrows. This woman, who has been silent just now, is constantly typing something on a machine that looks like a mobile phone. Is it secretly operating? Shillong doubted. The staff outside the door saw Haiyue's electronic watch and was slightly surprised. "It's really you. What a coincidence." "This is fate, Brother Shillong. Among the 1035 students, I was the only one who was selected by fate and appeared in front of you as an opponent." Haiyue smiled, looking very happy. "Fate is something ghost. You clearly did it on purpose." The brain demon on one side said, "He has been staring at Haiyue, and he is very clear about what the other party has done. Despicable woman. It is absolutely impossible for you and your majesty. Annoying spirit. Why does Big Brother Shillong have a nasty guy like you as a spirit?" Haiyue looked very depressed as she watched the brain demon constantly despising herself. She gritted her teeth and said, "You bastard. There is a way for you to go up and compete with my spirit. I must teach you how to be a spirit." "Oh." The brain demon's body straightened up in midair and looked at the opponent with a look of contempt. "Mortal, you are sure to rank first in loyalty with your majesty, second in appearance, and second in strength. Do the 2 brain devils fight? So you're called a brain demon?" Haiyue suddenly said, "What ranks first and second, and claiming to be an adult? Are you a little grotesque, kind of a sucker? Today, I will teach you a lesson for Brother Xylem a bit. How dare to hinder Brother Shillong's lifelong happiness?" "Huh, detestable woman. Who do you think is the little guy?" The brain demon's expression went down, thinking that before he mutated, he was also a strong man with a height of 1.8 meters. Now, although he has invincible strength, he is still tall. The pain in his heart. This would be discriminated against in the face, and immediately became angry, with a pair of big eyes staring at the other party. "Mortal, I must let you know how humble you are." As he said, he turned his head and looked at Xylem again. "Your Majesty, please let me play in this battle. I will use my strength to defeat the opponent in an instant." Well, it's up to you. Shillong nodded. In his opinion, no matter which one of his subordinates is under, he can end the battle in an instant. The gym battle with the first badge is really nothing to care about. Where can the strength of the spirits surrendered to ordinary humans be so strong? Humph. Hiwa also gave a cold smile. As an elite student of the whole gym, Hiwa itself possesses the strength of a professional-level spirit master, which is not weaker than a spirit master with 6 badges. Although she herself is interesting to Shillong, she does not think how strong Shillong is. She was planning to release the water for him to win, but before releasing the water, she must clean up this brain door first. In the province, he has been unable to figure out his position. The good thing that disturbed her master Hiwa. The two went to the ring numbered 3. There are 2 spirit masters fighting against each other. One is a challenger like Shillong, and the other is a student of the gym. The spirits of the 2 fought the sand, but it was obvious that in the eyes of Asylum, the spirits of the gymnasium students were obviously stronger than the challenger by 2 levels. If divided according to the strength of Shillong's original main material realm, the spirit of the students is around 7 to 8. The challenger's level is only between 5 and 6. The gap is very obvious. The spirits of the students seem to be easy to deal with the challenger, and attack the challenger several times from time to time. Soon the spirit of the challenge was breathless, but the challenger didn't mean to give up at all. He has been directing his spirit there, cheering from time to time, and fighting for a while. The trainee's spirit began to act in Shillong's eyes, selling a flaw very grandiosely, and then being knocked out of the field. Then the challenger won, holding his spirit and dancing for a while. Finally, the staff awarded the badge and left happily. Then it was Shillong and Hyua's turn, and they stood opposite each other. The brain demon who has been by Shillong slowly drifted into the arena, staring at the opposite side with contempt. Come on, woman. No matter how strong your running dog is, I will end this doomed battle in an instant. Show the world the strength that your majesty's most loyal servant should have. Haha. You are so confident. Hyua smiled on her face, but sneered in her heart. She lifted her jacket and took out a black spirit ball from the center of the spirit belt. The workmanship of this strange ball is very exquisite, and the surface looks like it is plated with gold and looks shiny. Asylum glanced at the ghost ball on his belt. It was blue and white, ordinary, without special features. This is at least a luxurious version of the strange ball. This woman has something. Hyua pressed the button on the ball after removing the ball. A golden light shot into the field, and a huge black bear with a height of 4 meters appeared on the field. This black bear has no hair, and its whole body is cast like steel, covered with steel barbs, looking very hideous. This is my trump card. Black Steel Bear. Brother Shillong, please advise. Hyua smiled confidently. As an elite spirit master, you not only need to cultivate extraordinary spirits, but also need to have good eyesight and battle strategies. Although she has never played against the brain demon, looking at the other party's small size and floating body in the air, she can naturally guess that the other party is a spirit monster. Part 2. Psionic monsters are actually not very common types. On the contrary, they are rare in comparison with other combat types such as close combat and elemental types. He can restrain most of the elemental systems. Even in the fighting system, the subdivided agility systems will be restrained by him, but the spirits in the fighting system that are known for their defense and strength are not among them. The defensive spirits can withstand the psychic storm of the psionic system, and the powerful force can also be immune to psychic suppression, which is considered the nemesis of the psionic system. Hey, Hyua, you dead woman. Is the person you admire really miserable enough? He actually played his trump card directly? Is this determined not to let the family pass it? Huang Mao Nu and the other 2 women are around the ring at this time. Seeing the spirits sent by Hyua, each took a breath. Does this woman want this man to challenge and fail all the time, and then let him stay and exercise, then challenge? Unexpectedly, you woman is really playing. Still so ruthless. Cut. What do you women know? I'm just to show respect to Brother Shillong, only by doing my best. Is the respect for the strong? Hyua replied, no longer paying attention to Huang Mao, and looked at Shillong with energetic eyes. Brother Shillong, the game is starting. Bring it on. Subsequently, the 2 began a duel with the referee counted down. Black Steel Bear rushed over to give a warm hug to the cute little dog on the other side. Hyua gave instructions confidently. Hearing this, the Black Steel Bear let out a huge roar, making the people in the gym feel the rumbling in their ears, and then fell on all 4s, just a few steps, and came to the front of the brain demon and pressed towards the little brain demon. Just when everyone thought that the brain demon would be slapped to the ground and fell to the ground. Huh, weak fellow. Feel the power of God bestowed on me by your majesty. A blue arc flashed in the eyes of the brain demon, and a small arm stretched out. The terrifying psychic energy unfolded in an instant, and the image of the huge black steel bear was cast with a hold technique, unable to move. Only a pair of eyes revealed a humane shock and fear. Its mouth could not open, only a pitiful whine from its throat. All the people present have not reacted yet. They can't imagine that a terrifying behemoth with a height of more than 4 meters and a weight of more than 5 tons will be subdued by other spirits while waving their hands. Black Steel Bear, what are you doing? Why don't you tidy up that little guy? Haiyue was still calling out behind him. Woman, you and your spirits are too weak. The brain demon shouted, and under the arm lightly, the black steel bear weighing several tons was picked up by an invisible big hand, and it floated into the air. No matter how slow Haiyue and others reacted, they understood the situation. All of them looked shocked, and Haiyue's face is even more earthy. This spirit who has been against him actually has such a strong strength? One move to subdue his trump card. Even the master of the gymnasium might not be able to do this, right? Ruined. My love with Brother Shillong has just begun. Will it be cruelly ended? At this time, the brain demon had been looking at Haiyue's expression, and seeing her showing such a look, he was naturally very happy, thinking that the other party was shocked by his strength and understood his humbleness and stupidity. Have you seen? This is my strength. A woman like you wants to make friends with your majesty. It's a million years earlier. As the voice fell, the black steel bear in midair was squeezed like a doll by an invisible force, spinning frantically. The black steel bear continued to make miserable whimpers in his mouth, and was finally poured into the sand severely, and his entire body was buried in it. The ring trembled a few times. When the black steel bear was lifted out of the sand by psychic energy again, everyone found that the terrifying big guy had passed out in a coma. Boom. Finally, the black steel bear was moved to Haiyue's side and crashed to the ground. This is too powerful, right? The onlookers were also dumbfounded. Everyone was not a fool, and would think Haiyue's black steel bear was weak. The height of more than 4 meters and the huge pressure all show the strength of this bear. Even so, it was killed by a single move. It can only show that the opponent is too strong. Which big guy is on the other side? Why don't I remember seeing it at the World Championships and the National Championships in previous years? Did I forget? Someone asked. I haven't seen him either. This should be a newcomer. It is the spirit that has inherited from his father's generation, and he has such strength. It is impossible for ordinary spirits to reach this level. Someone analyzed. In this world with almost a man-powered spirit, the vast majority of spirits are weak, and few are extremely powerful at birth. They also grow from weak to strong. Many spirits are even longer than human beings. They are regarded as heirlooms and passed on from generation to generation. Therefore, in their opinion, newcomers like Shillong are rare, but there are always so many every year. The next situation confirmed their ideas. A staff member who was watching the game in general came to Shillong and smiled at him. Congratulations, powerful spirit master. You have defeated your opponent. This is the emblem of Heilong Daoguan. I hope you will not forget your original intention and bring your spirit to the next level in your future growth. Huh? Aren't you the big brother who came out of the mountain? Shillong raised his eyebrows Wuxiaworld.online and turned to look behind him. It turned out that it was the woman who had helped him buy things before and brought a tortoise. As always, she wore a pair of shorts, showing her white and tender thighs, with a youthful look. It turned out to be you, thank you before. Xylem smiled and expressed his thanks. It's me. Get to know me officially. My name is Gulin Tsaixia. You can call me Tsaixia, the woman said. Shillin Soderberg, you just call me Shillin. Silong, I didn't expect you to be so powerful. Maybe your dream can really come true. I am ashamed that I underestimated you before. Please forgive me. Tsaixia said. She bowed slightly to him. To apologize. Shillin's brows raised. This woman is too serious, right? In that case, seeing a stranger without the slightest reputation say such big things, will she disdain it? Chapter 314. It's okay. I didn't care at all. That's good. Tsaixia smiled slightly. Suddenly, a figure was directly inserted between the two of them, and Haiyue, who was originally on the opposite side, walked over at no time. She turned her back to Shillong, staring at Tsaixia with a bad look, put an arm on the other's shoulder, and whispered, What is the relationship between you woman and brother Shillong? Don't think you have a big white leg. It's amazing. I tell you, my legs are much whiter than yours. Much tender. I'll change into shorts soon. Huh. Tsaixia was taken aback for a moment, then she looked at Shillong, who was constantly frowning behind Haiyue, revealing a daze. You're misunderstood. I just came to the gym with my friend, Xiao Qi. Had happened to be missing the badge, and after a duel, I just greeted Xylem when I saw Shillong. I didn't mean anything else. Tsaixia explained. Tao, my old lady believes you a ghost. Haiyue muttered in her heart and said, That's right. Didn't you say that you still have a friend, Xiao Qi? Then you said, where is the other person? If you ask him to come out, I believe you. This. Tsaixia looked at the people around her with embarrassment. Her eyes were staring here curiously. It's not convenient to say here. Then go outside and say, let's go. I will see where your friend Xiaoqi is out of thin air today. Damn woman. Obviously, I am eyeing big brother Xylem. Haiyue glared fiercely. You really think too much? Saixia had a headache, but she squeezed away from the crowd and walked out of the duel. Haiyue reluctantly followed out. Shillong also left here because he had already received the badge, and all three of them came outside. Saixia said, my friend Xiaoqi, this will be duel in the exclusive duel of the curator of the gymnasium and the curator Hailong. Fighting with my dad? Haiyue said after a slight daze. Huh? Are you the daughter of curator Hailong? Saixia was a little surprised. Of course. I'm my father's most beloved daughter. Hey, not only is she beautiful, there is money and power at home. An authentic Baifume. The boys chasing me in the entire gymnasium, there are not 170 or 80. What man would marry me? That can be at least 30 to 40 years less struggle. When Haiyue said, marry me, struggle less, and 30 or 40 years, the words were accented, and Shillong, who kept gazing to one side, seemed to imply something. Ha ha ha. Saixia's mouth twitched slightly, revealing an awkward smile. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go to my dad. I want to expose you, a hypocritical woman in front of brother Shillong. Haiyue said, trying to hold Shillong's hand. But a mind barrier stopped her salty pig hands. Hey, woman, pay attention to your movements. Your Majesty's arms are not touched by an ant-like woman like you. The brain demon said calmly. You hateful brain gate. Haiyue was itchy by the other's angry teeth, but helpless. The opponent has already proved his incomparable strength in the duel just now. You guy, brother Shillong and I are a perfect match. You hinder him like this. Be careful, he is angry and doesn't want you. Huh, don't worry about this. Your Majesty admires talents like me the most. You lowly women who fancy your Majesty's body, there are 40 to 50 million if you don't have 100 million. When did your Majesty look at it? Braingate said with disdain. He was talking about his alliance star. Since Shillong unified the world, his human form has been published in magazines and news. Groups of women are chatting under Shillong's official account like social software every day. Every day I leave a message that my husband loves me. What is my husband? My husband is so handsome. My husband X me. If it weren't for the great Majesty's kindness, he thought it was a grounding gas and helped to absorb the expression of faith. His brain demon would have shut up those shameless women. 100 million? 40 to 50 million? Haiyue looked at the brain door angrily. This guy came again. This flatterer. I really took brother Shillong to shoot like an ancient emperor. The body is so small. Why is the skin so thick? Dare to say anything. That's right. So you shouldn't be wishful thinking for anything like you. The brain said. Huh. Insane. Haiyue didn't bother to care about him, so she could only retreat and said, Brother Shillong, let's go. Come with me to expose the mask of Gu Lin Saixia. No. I'm going to go to the next city soon and continue to challenge. Xylem shook his head. No. No. Brother Shillong, don't leave so quickly. You are gone. What should I do? My love shouldn't end at the beginning. Haiyue looked distressed. Except, this woman. There are so many dramas. Xylem shook his head inwardly, and then he was about to go outside the gym, but he had just taken a few steps. Saixia stopped him. Mr. Xylem, you should go and see with us. Isn't your wish to become the king of heaven? Let's take a look at the battle at the curator level of the gymnasium. Although this level of battle is far from the king of heaven, it is also extremely high. It can add a lot of enemy experience for you in the future. Saixia's words hit the point, and Xylem's footsteps stopped for a while. He turned around and nodded. What you said makes sense. Let's go and see. But, damn it, I lost again. Brother Xylem didn't listen to me, but went to listen to the woman Gu Lin Saixia. Damn it, how can I be better than her? I am obviously younger than her. This woman looked like she was already an old woman in her 20s. Is it because she showed her white and tender thighs? Haiyue is determined to pay attention to buying more shorts when going back. I will never be compared by this woman in the future. A group of 3 people, with the brain demon who had been floating outside, soon came to a huge dojo on the edge of the wall. Before entering, they heard the sound of fierce fighting inside, the roar of spirits, and the explosion of battle. There was a huge werewolf in a black suit at the gate, which seemed to be the guard spirit of the gymnasium, preventing unrelated people from entering. However, Haiyue and Gu Lin Saixia were obviously not unrelated persons in its eyes. When the 3 passed by, the human wolf gave a soft cry, and then opened the door for the 3 of them. Walking inside, it was an open space as big as at least 2 or 3 football fields. One was wrapped in blue electric light, like a squirrel and a mouse, and only a monster the size of a domestic cat kept dodge. Opposite it is a monster shrimp. This monster shrimp is the size of a human being, with a big standing upright. The 2 oranges seem to be spring-loaded, and they can shoot, retract, shoot, and retract continuously. And the speed is extremely amazing. Every time it shoots, it can blast a pit with a diameter of 4 or 5 meters in the ground. Boom 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 booming noise came out continuously. Duelists on both sides were fighting attentively, and it seemed that they had not noticed that the door to the battle had been opened, and there were 4 more spectators. Xiaoqi, dodging like this is no way. Why don't you let your lightning striker use lightning strikes? Said the curator Hailong, who looked like a middle-aged man. Hey, alright, since it was Uncle Hailong's request then, Xiaolei, use a long-distance electric discharge. Xiaoqi looked only 15 years old, with a red and blue duck tongue. He lightly raised his duck tongue before issuing a combat command. Skin. The lightning road once again avoided a bombardment, and the whole body was full of yellow lightning. Skin. Stabbed. The yellow thunder light instantly turned into a thunder spear, blasting toward the prawn at a speed that ordinary creatures could not avoid. Boxing shrimp. Use a hard shell. Curator Hailong had already prepared, and when he saw the lightning on the rat, he gave an order at the same time. The shell of the boxing shrimp that was originally red and blue was instantly covered in gray and stayed in place like a statue. The terrible thunder spear shot straight on the boxing shrimp, let the boxing shrimp glow and shine, and large swaths of smoke emerged from its body. It continued for a few seconds before the lightning spear dissipated. Part 2. The boxing shrimp returned to its original state and let out a breath of heat. Crack! The boxing shrimp screamed softly, and a pair of oranges clamped hard. It seemed to say to the lightning strike that it was okay. You can still use a little force. Lightning strikes have no effect? Xiaoqi exclaimed, seeming a little surprised. Haha, Xiaoqi, your tactics are very good. You know that you can use the lightning mouse of the lightning system to restrain my water monsters, but I will not let you restrain it. This lightning shrimp is one of the few in my hand, able to use a hard shell without fear of electric shock. I have specially trained its hard shell. The curator Hailong laughed and explained. At this time, boxing shrimp started to madly eject his oranges, attacking the lightning-struck rats. That's really difficult. Xiaoqi sighed, and then he believed, but my Xiaolei won't lose here. Xiaolei, use the clone. Skin. The lightning road screamed, and the small figure disappeared suddenly. 5 identical lightning rodents appeared on the entire field, making it difficult to distinguish between true and false. The boxing shrimp penetrated a phantom, and another one appeared not far away, making the boxing shrimp confused. Your lightning mouse is very good. It can actually cultivate the clone to the level of 5, which is already at the level of curator. Curator Hailong sighed when he saw the scene in front of him. But how are you going to beat my hard-shell boxing rat? Except for thunder and lightning, your lightning rat has no other physical attacks worth mentioning. Even if this goes on, you will consume your energy first. Curator Hailong's analysis is very correct. The long-distance flying orange of the boxing shrimp is almost instinctive, and it is far less physically demanding than the continuous dodge of lightning. It's not over yet. Xiaolei, use maximum power to discharge the boxing shrimp. Corona it to me. Xiaoqi roared. Skin. The lightning rat neighed loudly. It's useless. My boxing shrimp won't be afraid of any lightning. Curator Hailong stood confidently. Skin. The lightning-struck mouse disappeared instantly, and when it reappeared, it had already appeared behind boxing shrimp. After feeling the abnormality behind him, the boxing shrimp also instantly entered a hard shell state, turning into a gray statue. Maximum power. Skin. With the last neigh of the lightning strike, the endless yellow thunder burst out, completely submerging the boxing shrimp. That too shining light directly closed the eyes of everyone present, except Zero and Brain Demon. After the lightning disappeared, they slowly opened their eyes and checked the situation. In the middle of the field, the boxing shrimp statue that had stood still had returned to its original appearance and fell to the ground and passed out. The shells all over his body turned red, and the heat continued to rise. The lightning mouse was panting heavily on one side. Good job. Lightning strikes the mouse. Xiaoqi immediately cried out happily when he saw this scene. Skin. Thunderstrike Mouse heard Xiaoqi's shout, jumped several times, jumped into Xiaoqi's arms, and began to rub his chest to act like a baby. Excellent performance. Xiaoqi, your lightning mouse reminded me of your father's Ishinwang. Does the two have anything to do with you? Curator Hailong didn't feel any upset because his spirit lost the game. This is my father's child. He is the best partner who grew up with me since I was a child. Xiaoqi said while stroking the head of the lightning striker in his arms, with a look of affection. No wonder. With such a powerful lightning strike ability, ordinary lightning strike rats can't do it at all, and only the blood of the Zhiqian king has such strength. Curator Hailong nodded clearly. Hee. Xiaoqi smiled happily. Dad. My dad. You actually lost to a kid? A voice came from the door, interrupting the conversation that the two still wanted to continue. Shao-Chi and Curator Hailong couldn't help but look over. Only then did they see the three of Shillong. Haiyue, why are you here with Saixia? There is another friend? Curator Hailong asked. I happened to meet the woman Saixia on the challenge field. Say it. Dad, you lose to a child who looks like a minor. Is it too shameful? Haiyue pouted. I just bluffed my identity in front of brother Shillong, trying to let the other party know how good he was, and in a blink of an eye Wuxia world. Online his father was beaten by a child. This is embarrassing, okay? Oh, I can't say that. Curator Hailong scratched his head. This one is not an ordinary person. He is the child of King Jitian, do you understand? Besides, our duel it's just started. It's just that I lost one spirit, and there are 4 others not playing. How can you say that Dad lost? At the end, Curator Hailong looked at Haiyue with a pitiful appearance. What? The child of King Jitian? This kid? Haiyue looked at Shao-Chi blankly. Ha ha ha. Shao-Chi smiled awkwardly. Hello, sister. My name is Omuchi, and my father is Omuchi. I am glad to meet you. My God! Haiyue exclaimed. The entire Rainbow Kingdom is a well-deserved male and idol worshipped by everyone. Chapter 315. After learning of Shao-Chi's identity, Haiyue changed her face at once, rushed to Shao-Chi, held Shao-Chi's hands tightly with both hands, and kept shaking and said, Hello. Hello. I am Haiyue, my father Hailong's daughter. Nice to meet you, Brother Chi. Hello, Sister Haiyue. Shao-Chi smiled, his arm constantly shaking. Oh, that's right. Haiyue stopped suddenly. She pointed to Saixia on one side and said, Is that person over there really your friend, Shao-Chi? Oh, Sister Saixia. She is a very good friend of mine. Shao-Chi replied, and then shouted to Saixia, Sister Saixia, have you got the badge of Hailong Daoguan? Got it. Saixia had already walked to Shao-Chi and Haiyue at this time, smiling and shaking the badge in her hand. But, damn, you woman, what you said is true. Haiyue was a little depressed. Haiyue, why don't you introduce this tall friend next to you? Hailong stared at Shillong, with a touch of hostility hidden deep in his eyes. This is Brother Shillong. It's a handsome guy I just met. Dad, let me tell you, he is super strong. Haiyue looked excited, pointing to the demon beside Shillong. My ace Black Steel Bear was killed by the eldest brother's spirit. That is, this brain door dwarf spirit. He might be better than you, Dad. What, better than me? Curator Hailong immediately changed his expression. My dear girl, you really underestimate your father and me. You actually said he is better than me. Humph, this is impossible. Hailong stared at Shillong angrily. Young man, are you interested in a duel with me? Okay, can't ask for it. Xylem smiled. In the short duel between Hailong and Shao-Chi, Shillong had already analyzed a lot of things. The strength of the two spirits is indeed good. The electric mouse alone is definitely not much slower than the general legend, and the final maximum power discharge should be comparable to the attack of the general legend. However, judging by its small size, its ability to resist hits must be extremely weak, and its overall strength should be around level 19. And that big lobster has good attack and defense capabilities, but it should move slowly. The overall strength may only be around level 18. Overall strength is not bad. However, Under the Legend and the Legend are not at the same level, and the strength of these guys seems to be no more than that. Huh? Shao-Chi was a little surprised on the side. No, it's wrong. Uncle Hailong, aren't you fighting me? Why are you fighting someone else? He was a little unacceptable. This feeling was like being intimacy with his lover. Half of his pants were taken off, and he was forced to terminate it, making his entire face blush. Sorry, Shao-Chi. Curator Hailong was a little apologetic, but still said, Your game will wait until I finish the duel with this Mr. Shillong. After all, he is the master Haiyue said can beat me. This makes my long-awaited euphoria again. Oh, okay. Shao-Chi sighed, but had to accept the facts. Uncle Hailong, don't underestimate Xylem. He is really very powerful. Saixia also said. She saw that the curator of the sea dragon had some anger in it. It seems because of Haiyue's attitude. I know. Hailong replied. Come on, Mr. Xylem. Let us have a wonderful duel. The two then stood opposite each other. Under the sign of Shillong, the brain demon slowly floated to the middle of the arena, wrapped his hands in front of his chest and said, Come on, let you witness as your majesty's subordinates, the second in strength, second in appearance, and first in loyalty. The strength of the master brain demon. Just me. You can defeat all your elves. The demon's attitude is as arrogant as ever. Very good. Curator Hailong's mouth twitched. Is this a mutant psionic boy? It's really energetic. It should be. Shillong nodded. He doesn't know if it counts. You think it's fine. There are too many kinds of spirits in this world. There are thousands in nature, and there are many artificially cultivated and mutated. The appearance of the brain demon, even if ordinary people can't recognize it, will not feel strange. Those with more knowledge, such as Curator Shillong, will replenish the roots of the demon. Psionic Boy is a superpowered spirit, and its upper limit is not particularly high, but Miss Saixia and my daughter Haiyue both said that you were better. Then this must be a very powerful mutation. Don't worry, I will definitely go all out to fight you. Since your spirit claims to be the second most powerful under your team, then I will use the second-ranked one in my hand to fight you. Come out. Sea King Ginseng. Curator Shillong released his own spirit, a sea cucumber that was bigger than others, and was wrapped in blue psychic light. Oh, are you in the same department as me? The brain demon seemed to be a little interested. Such a duel is the most direct contest between the psychic abilities of both parties. There is no fancy, and the outcome will be decided in an instant. I like this way of fighting. You like it? Curator Shillong said, just as the spirits of both sides started to compete. On the other side, Xylem suddenly took out a camera and pointed it at the two spirits in the field, and started to shoot without saying a word. Oh, wait, what are you doing? Curator Shillong was a little shocked. Shooting and fighting. Xylem replied, why filming? Are you going to put the video on the website and sell it for money? It's almost what it means. Xylem was taken aback without explaining too much. In fact, this is because he wants to put it on the internet, collect some admirers, and earn some faith. That won't work. Almost instinctively, Curator Shillong called, I disagree. You don't agree? Xylem frowned, and then he seemed to think of something. Don't worry. I put it on the internet, and the profit will be divided into 50-50. I will never be greedy for your dime. You can send someone if you don't worry. Come watch me. It's not the problem. It's just that I don't want to expose too many strange fighting videos. The national competition is about to be held in 1 year. Now that you released the video, isn't my old bottom exposed by you? Curator Shillong explained that his expression was not good. Is that so? Xylem sighed. The plan failed. He put away his camera silently. Haiyue on the other side took this opportunity and said, Brother Shillong, are you short of money? Hey, I have 100,000 federal currency pocket money every month. As long as you promise to be my boyfriend, I will divide it in half. Give you. No. No. Almost at the same time, Shillong and Curator Shillong spoke together. They glanced at each other, and Xylem said, Little girl, you should forget it. Tell you the truth, I am not interested in women for the time being. You don't need to waste time on me. Huh? Not interested in women? Haiyue's small mouth opened slightly. That means that Brother Shillong, you like men? No way. Why do you, big brother, such a good and handsome man, like men? Is it because you are only interested in muscles after you have developed muscles? Ugh. Brother Shillong, let me show you. Actually, I still have a few small abdominal muscles. I think we are still possible. At the end of the day, Haiyue actually wanted to open her clothes and show her belly to Shillong. Fortunately, Shillong responded quickly and shouted, Aptune Ginseng, stop my daughter. Almost at the moment when the voice fell, a large blue light shone Haiyue, making her unable to move. You, what do you want to do? Good daughter's house. Why do you want to do such an indecent thing? Curator Shillong was furious. I just don't want handsome Shillong to degenerate and become gay. This is too sad, right? There are so few high-quality men. Why are they gay? Haiyue said with a sad expression. I'm not gay, little girl. You think too much. Xylem shook his head helplessly and would not be angry at the other party's words. I don't like women or men, then. Haiyue looked at Shillong, and after a while, she showed a daze. That's why you like female spirits? OMG, this is not right. Brother Shillong, although there are many spirits that look like humans, but they are still weird in nature. Part 2. Two different races will not be happy together. The most basic lifespans are different, and the power system is also different. It's easy to happen. Do you know? In the first 3 years, I saw a piece of news saying that a man fell in love with a grass fairy, but in the end he disregarded secular opposition. What happened? That man was poisoned to death. The grass fairy is poisonous in its body. It's okay to hug and hug together, but going further is absolutely impossible. There is more. Although the mermaid of the water system looks beautiful, but she has no reproductive capacity. Her lower body is a fish. Haiyue's mouth was like a machine gun, and she kept talking. Finally, the complexion of everyone around him changed. Don't get me wrong, I won't like anyone. I'm only interested in power. Xylem explained helplessly. Oh, power? Haiyue showed a clear expression again. It turns out that Big Brother Zero is a handsome guy in the abstinence system. This is because you have never met a woman who made your heart beat before. But now it's different. You met me. I believe you will be conquered by my charm soon, then fall in love with me hopelessly. Haiyue instantly regained her spirit. Okay, all right. You should let me play with your father as soon as possible. Xylem covered his head and said, hee hee hee, okay. Haiwef finally stepped aside. Then under the start of a game, Curator Hailong's Sea King Ginseng unreservedly exploded with all its powers. The entire gymnasium was dyed blue, and a huge force enveloped the brain demon. Nice power, but want to deal with your majesty's most loyal servant. This is far from enough. The brain demon shouted. The arc flashes in the brain door. The dark blue psionic light burst out instantly. Two terrible auras roared and collided. Boom. It's like a giant competing for his own power. The defensive barrier of the entire gym is shaking. After a stalemate for a few seconds, the psychic light of the brain demon began to quickly press on the Sea King Ginseng. Everyone only saw that Sea King Ginseng was bombarded by the deep blue brilliance, and Peng's bang hit the defensive wall in the gymnasium. Rumble. The entire defensive barrier trembled for several times before the Sea King Ginseng fell weakly to the ground and passed out into a coma. Dad's Sea King Ginseng. Is this a loss? Haiwen muttered to herself. It seems, yes. Saixia was also a little surprised. Okay. That's awesome. Xiaoqi looked at the brain demon with bright eyes. I really want to fight this kind of opponent, isn't it? Xiaolei. Skin. Too weak. The brain demon was as arrogant as before, but Xylem frowned behind him. That Sea King Ginseng, don't look at being instantly killed by the brain demon, but in fact it is not weak. At least it is the beginning of the legend, but his opponent is a tier 4 demonized brain demon 40 years ago, or he used it a guy who has strengthened the godhead of Dora. The general legend is naturally far from his opponent, let alone the same type. This kind of spike is not unexpected. What surprised Shillong was that the Sea King Ginseng was also a legendary beginner. Why don't you want any face? Actually recognize a human as the master? Humans in this world seem to be far less weak than he thought. This is only the second in the hands of the curator. And what is the strength of the curator? It seems to be only the regional champion and runner-up level, or the top 64 national events. There is a huge gap with the top 4 in the world events. The King of Heaven. It seems that the strength is not only what he thought before. Shillong thought blankly on one side. The curator Hailong on one side looked ugly. My Sea King Ginseng. I was defeated at once. He has been trained by me to the level of a quasi-sacred beast. It's fine to lose to someone else, but losing to this brat who fascinated his daughter so much made him extremely depressed. Dad, it's so bad. Big brother Shillong is still great. Haiyue shouted aside, and was about to lean on Shillong again. But the corner of the brain demon's Iwuxia World.online isolated her. Okay, so bad. Curator Hailong was deeply shocked, squatting on the ground with his head in his arms, and kept mumbling. Don't you still have the #1 spirit? Come on, let our battle continue. Brain Demon said. No way. Curator Hailong murmured. Why? You have such a reputation now? Knowing that even if it is your trump card, is it still far behind me? The Brain Demon looked at the other side with surprise. No, I didn't mean that. But my sea dragon is a large monster of S1 level. It can't be used in this venue, so I can't let my sea dragon come out and you tried it. Then change the venue. Xylem said. He wants to defeat the curator under the eyes of everyone. Since you said that shooting is not good, then I will defeat you in front of everyone. The same can be used to develop fans.
Thank you for watching. You can find the next videos in the playlist linked in the info card or directly on my channel. As always, if you have any feedback, feel free to share it in the comments. I'd also appreciate your thoughts on the ad experience in this video. Let me know in the comments below.